you can't hear the music. There we go. I fixed it. See? Okay, well, that's about as chaotic of an intro as I need.
We were all like, yeah.
I was like, they can't hear you. Please hold. I know the button. I know, look, Cammie dressed up, which is great because I'm pretty sure for the HoFast Live, the midnight party, we will be in dress up potentially.
Oh, that's news.
No, it's not. We've talked about this.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah,
we're
Kate.
gonna be the men.
No,
I'm gonna have a tattoo on my face.
I'm gonna be Rune.
I didn't know that was for the live. I thought we were just doing.
Well, we talked about potentially for the live, and listen, I have done a Rowan tattoo before, and it looked fire. So I know I can do it, and I have a great wig. It just needs to be brushed out a little bit. It already has the braid and everything because it's long-haired Rowan. It's not the short hair. Did you think I could talk about Rowan in this live? Anyways, Cassian. So we're talking Silver Flames tonight. Before we get started, a few housekeeping things. Number one, I want to say this, and I'm going to say this. This is the only time I'm going to say this, but I just want to reiterate that this is a full Sky and Breath spoiler conversation. And I know some of you might be shaking your head and wondering why. And for that, I'm just going to nicely pat your head and say, don't worry about it, but go read Sky and Breath and then come back and watch this live. I don't want to say anything else beyond that, but I just want to let you know we will be talking about Sky and Breath in this, which kind of breaks our rules a little bit. We'll be talking a little bit about Throne of Glass, but if you basically, the conversation around Throne of Glass will be more if you don't know what the Valg is, peace out. If you do, you're fine. We won't really go into any more detail about the Valg after that. The only other thing I wanted to say is we do have a Slido tonight. So our Slido code is Gwydion. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You're welcome, Avery. Because I will never hear the end of this. So
no, will not.
I will not. So it is Gwydion. So you can go ahead and put your questions in there. But today we're just going to be mainly discussing some of the book, discussing some of our thoughts. On this Zoom, as you can see, this is hilarious. This was not planned. But we have on my side, Team Nesta. Basically Nesta stands, and then on the other side, which is that side, we have our Gwen stands. So we have our Nesta and Gwen representatives here. So you can already tell what this is going to be like. If you are an Elreal, we love you, we support you. We don't think that's the ship. So we'll talk a little bit about it, but we won't. Just know before this live starts, I don't think the single person in this room thinks it's Endgame. No? Okay. No. All right. Want to make that very clear.
I trust Sarah J. Maas.
I trust Sarah J. Maas. I agree.
I'll throw a fit.
Just trust me. I don't think it's going to happen. So,
like, I'm good. I'm going to throw a fit.
We'll talk a little bit about Elreal and Gwenreal. It's important to discuss in this. We haven't discussed Frost and Starlight, and I will be talking a little bit about Frost and Starlight because that's when I was a big Elreal. This is prior to Silver Flames, okay? And then I read Silver Flames and I switched ships. So, okay. But going into Silver Flames, obviously this is Avery's favorite. You probably don't realize it. It is also one of my favorites, but it is for a different reason than Avery's. Avery loves it for, I don't know.
A lot of
it. I love it for Nesta's healing journey. It is the same reason for anyone who has not read From Blood and Ash or has read From Blood and Ash. It's the same reason I love A Light in the Flame. It has very similar coping mechanisms. Silver Flames deals with addiction in terms of alcoholism and PTSD and depression. A Light in the Flame deals with anxiety and PTSD. So I relate more to the anxiety than I do the depression, but it is still both stories are very therapeutic. So just want to throw that out there. Also, for anyone who just also need to say this because I didn't say this to Avery. I may or may not have texted JLA's publisher today, which I cannot say what I texted, but she said I won the best text she's ever received this week. And I was like,
no, you said that to me.
Okay. I couldn't remember I said it to you, but I was like, but
I know what you said.
Shh, you're not supposed to know. I just am really bad at secrets sometimes. Okay, Silver Flames. So, what do we want to start with? Do we want to talk a little bit about the beginning of it? Do we want to talk about the inner circle? Should we just get that conversation out of the way about the inner circle and how them handling Nesta?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, I guess the question I would ask, and it is one that comes up a lot with the fandom, and I think it is a great kind of conversation starter because it is at the beginning of the book, is how do we all feel about the inner circle's handling of Nesta Archeron?
I think so. She needed help.
Mm-hmm.
I think Feyre should have done the confrontation probably by herself.
Or maybe with Elaine, like just the sisters.
Yeah, just I don't think Rhys really needed to be involved in that at all, especially with their contentious relationship already.
Wait, quick pause. Does anyone here does anyone here like Rhys in Silver Flames?
I don't dislike him.
I mean, I generally don't love Reese, and like he's fine.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he's a totally different character.
Correct.
Okay. That's kind of the point I was getting at, because I will say, and I'm happy to play devil's advocate in this, because I know a lot of people hate Rhys in Silver Flames. I love Rhys in Silver Flames, especially in the Azriel bonus chapter. Just want to make that known. But that's why I brought it up. I agree with you. Continue, Avery. He probably didn't need to be involved in this beginning confrontation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only people who should have been involved in it are Feyre and probably Cassian, because he's the one who will be with her for all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
But Feyre was the one who was most affected by it. They had a tenuous relationship, like almost friendly towards the end of Aka War, and then Nesta kind of went off the deep end.
Rightfully so.
Yes, correct. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
She's processing. She's doing her thing. And she just wasn't processing in a healthy way. And interventions are not supposed to be like a comfortable thing. So,
right.
And that's what she needed. But bringing people who she clearly had
animosity
with into the space, into the intervention space, probably not the best idea. However, I can almost even understand Amryn a little bit. Like, yes, they were fighting, but Amryn still cared about Nesta a lot. Mm-hmm. She just was done with her bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
first off, I love this. Amanda said, if she cuts Cassian's hair, I will sob. I think we all agree. He's the only male from Sarah's universe. When I found out Hunt's hair got cut at the beginning of Sky and Breath, I think I called Avery and I was like, no. Why? Like, why did we even have this dialogue in here? So yes, I agree with you. Someone said, they like Rhys. I feel like he told kind of Nesta's perspective and that we aren't supposed to like him as much. And then Lucy said something really interesting, which is there's no handbook in dealing with interventions. They tried, but I do think they waited too long. Do you guys think they waited too long? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think they could have done something prior to, like, not necessarily the full intervention. I feel like they waited so long, so it had to be so dramatic. It's like they could have done something in the meantime. Like, they could have been observant and seen that she was uncomfortable in certain situations, especially since they all have had trauma from war previously.
Right. Right. I couldn't get over, and they kind of touched on this a little bit in Frost and Starlight, like they explained, but not. I just didn't understand why they just let it go. Why they allowed Nesta to live where she lived. like there was, and it's not even necessarily like allowing her, because I understand like it's her choice where she wants to live, but like maybe having a healthy conversation about safety with her, because that to me was probably the biggest issue, was that she was living in this place where she could easily like kind of do her own thing, because it was not an area that anyone else in the inner circle was familiar with.
Listen.
And let her be independent, obviously, but was that a smart decision to just let the High Lady's sister just live in this like horrible location? I don't know.
Yeah, no.
It's just, that's kind of the thing I question. I think that might have been the start of it. We saw, and what's interesting too with Frost and Starlight, is we saw a lot of this in that book, especially her, at the different taverns and all this in Valeris. But I would agree with everyone here that I felt like the inner circle was just like, well, Nesta's just lashing out. And then they get to Silver Flames and it's like, you need to stop lashing out. And what? Less than a year
Right.
had taken place?
Yes.
That's a little hypocritical.
It was, they say it's something months since the war. Hold on, I can find out exactly what it was.
And so someone said
14. It was 14 months since the war.
Yeah, and someone said, I disliked him, especially when he antagonized her. You want to go head-to-head, Nesta. We've got plenty of space out there to brawl. Given her state. I think this is my thing with that was, and it would have been, so, okay, taking a quick step back for like a hot second. Sometimes the issue I had with the inner circle was they had constantly pushed Nesta to be a soldier. They were pushing her to train. They were pushing her to wear pants. They were pushing her to do all the way to Akawar. They were pushing her to there was not a single push to Elaine. And luckily, Nesta has a mate who's a general, so it all added up eventually, and it made sense. She became a Valkyrie, and these are things that she wanted. These are things that she chose for herself. However, could you imagine them doing this to Elaine? Making her wear pants and train and do, I mean, come on, people. Then we could really have a conversation about Elreal. But like, I just think the difference between the two sisters, and I know in the bonus chapter even Reese says like, oh well, let's handle one sister at a time. But like, this is a little ridiculous. Like, we think Nesta needs to just go fight it out. Like, that's kind of making assumptions.
Somebody also brought up the time when he like looks at Nesta and is like, you will treat Gwen with respect and kindness. And like the assumption that she would do anything but.
I know.
Because he doesn't know her. He knows Feyre's version of her, but he doesn't know her.
And I would even argue, I don't think he technically even knows Feyre's version. I think he just has come to his own conclusions about Nesta.
I think he has come to his own conclusions with the background of Feyre's version of her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree. I don't think Nesta needed tough love. She 1000% needed it. She needed to be kind of, I don't know, told off quite a few
which is
times.
why we love Gwen's entrance. But,
right.
You know.
Right. And I think that's the thing. It's just, I do love this. The things I love about the intervention is like, and someone said it, but it is really the first time you get to see Faysand not in Faysand's point of view. And it was really entertaining to see like Feyre put Reese in his place for, you know, I will never forget the line about Feyre crying in her eggs and that being the reason that I just couldn't get over that. And like, obviously she's pregnant. So like that really heightened everything, but it was just so funny to me. Like, that's the reason we got to this. It's like, because Feyre cried in her eggs, Reese is like, that's it. She's done. Like, my mate has cried in her eggs.
I mean, I know you're being hyperbolic and it's an oversimplification, but also she did spend 500 gold marks at one tavern.
Sounds like a good time.
So I will say, I think a positive from the intervention, though, was the decision to make her go to the library.
Yes.
Because she did have very real trauma that no one had ever helped her with, and being surrounded by other women who also had trauma, in a very like safe space, I think was a really good choice, and maybe something that they should have looked at doing before. Or
at least opening it up to her, because it felt, I mean, she obviously had gone to the library prior in Akawar, but at least I think that kind of visit though was more like, oh, well, you can come and visit, but there was never a, if you need the library, Nesta, you can go to the library. And especially as someone who was an avid reader, that might have been a safe haven for her. And it was a safe haven for her. We saw that. So yeah, I agree with you completely.
But also I feel like the hard part with Nesta is I don't know that she would have gone, because she has this whole, like, she doesn't want to appear weak to anybody. And so if she were to have said, yes, I need to go to the library.
Right.
I feel like she never would have done that. It would have made her look weak.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to that point, it's the whole she didn't tell anybody about what Thomas decided he was going to do when she left him.
I was going to say.
So like they have parts of trauma that they know about, but they also have parts of her trauma they have no idea about.
Yeah.
Quickly,
and she won't let anybody get close enough to know.
Right.
Yeah. Quickly, Caitlin, you came at the right opportunity. We were just talking crap about your man, and so now that we're
not.
We were not.
We were saying like some people really struggle with Reese in Silver Flames.
Oh. Well, I mean, I think we're just seeing him in a different light. And
yeah,
I think he did make a mistake. And I think it's important to realize that even our favorite book boyfriends can make mistakes. Yeah. He owned it, and I think he had remorse for it. And I don't think he's going to do it again. So, he's still my man, so it's fine.
I know. Well, and all of us are on Team Reese for this book. Like I think everyone in this Zoom, we liked Reese in this because it was a different side of him, but it was a side of him that I respected it. I felt like we were finally back to like I don't know. I struggle sometimes in Akawar with that Reese because he's a little too like lost puppy with Feyre, and I really loved him in Silver Flames because I felt like even though I don't agree with some of his actions in Silver Flames, I can understand the motivation, and it felt more in line with why I fell in love with him.
I feel like he was so like just like couldn't grasp what was going on, that I feel like that really just clouded his judgment for a lot of what was going on.
Yeah. Before we move on to any more with Nesta, I do want to make a quick note because this was something I noticed on my reread right before Sky Breath came out. And I have to give myself a pat on the back for this one, although I'm sure other people did too. Reese's planetarium is the same planetarium that the Autumn King has. If you didn't know
the
orrery.
Surprise! It's the orrery.
I think it is the only time in history that Avery and I have been on a call and we both at the same time go, Cassian, pay attention. Pay attention. Because
the best part is literally every other sentence is all these things I didn't care about. And you're just like, just care a little bit. I know that Asriel cares. You said Asriel cares, but I'll get his POV in this entire book. I get a bonus chapter that is not about this.
It cracks me up because I remember, and again, Avery laughs at me because a lot of times doing these notes and these mass read-alongs, like we are technically supposed to be reading in order, okay? But sometimes I will find myself reading certain chapters and mix it in, and it ends up being in our favor. And this was one of those times where I had just read the Autumn King chapter and then just read this chapter in Silver Flames, and I was like, holy crap, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like both of them have the same fixation.
Well, and when you think about it, it is a more fixed version of it, but it is described similarly in the harp chamber. Of all of these planets surrounding by an 8-pointed star in the middle on a dais with the harp sitting on it. And I'm sitting here like, how are we not here yet?
But of course, in typical Rhysand fashion, his has 2 stories to his.
Of course it does.
The Autumn King does not. So, like, it's just, again, if anyone's wondering, I am convinced that Sarah J. Maas, she may not realize this, but she has such a soft spot for Rhys that if you pay attention, she favors that child like nobody's business. And down to this, that Rhys has 2 levels of it, and like the Autumn King does not. So it's a funny little notice that I think we all were like, And I think the other thing too is, and to Avery's point, the best part is in that paragraph where it brings it up, and he's like, Cassian stopped paying attention because he didn't care, but Az pays attention. Like, it's interesting to hear that Rhys this is something he's very fascinated by. So. I mean, again, if I'm going to say it one more time before I say the sentence. This is Hosab spoilers. If you have not read House of Sky and Breath, you need to get out of here. 3,
Goodbye.
2. But I think that's why he's okay with Bryce arriving. I think because he's, and Aelin falling. I think also somewhat.
I mean, he was jarred by that, but like.
He was jarred, but knowing Rhys, he was jarred in the way that he was like, I'm going to go to the books and like do a bunch of research and figure
this out.
Yeah, and Feyre's like, what are you doing? He's like, please, I can't bother you.
Give me a minute.
Just give me a minute. Okay, So anything, I mean, part one, anything, Avery? I'm leaning more towards you because I don't remember this book as well.
I don't think well, I mean, obviously Gwen's entrance is in part one. And we also meet Emery in part one. And she doesn't do the training in part one. And she ends up, you know, we get through all of part one. And then, you know, freaking Gwen signs up to start training, and that's when we get to part two. So like there's a lot that happens in part one.
So there's one thing I have to say this because Katie's not here to say this, and I have to say it. I will never forget right before Silver Flames came out, there was so many theories about Vasa. And Vasa was going to be such an important character. She was going to play such an important role. Katie was one of those people who was like dead convinced that Vasa was going to be so important in Silver Flames, and she was only in one chapter with Lucian, and then we never saw it again, and that I think is interesting, but also leads to a potential Lucian book.
That she's unimportant. I think she's just unimportant for this particular story. All right, so, Kate, hit us with your tabs.
To add to go along with the stuff you were talking about, like Reese having that planet thing, was Meryl. Because on page 154,
this is what. Let me get Crown of Midnight. Hold on.
Brilliant. What? Okay, so it says she was obsessed with theories regarding the existence of different realms, different worlds, living on top of each other without even knowing it. Blah 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 blah. Barely understand them. Some philosophers believe there are 11 worlds, and some believe there are as many as 26. One being time itself, which then of course we find out the harp has 26 strings, right?
26 strings, and 26 is time.
Which also, I don't know if we want to draw any sort of comparisons between Meryl being very young looking and working in a library versus...
And having white hair and having something to do with Western Wind. Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm spiraling already.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you go to Crown of Midnight. Okay, people, you go to Crown of Midnight. What chapter is this? Hold on. I have it all highlighted. Chapter 40. Okay. And you see... The word governs and forms the foundation of this world, not just Aurelia, but all life. There are worlds that exist beyond your knowledge, worlds that lie on top of each other and don't know it. Right now, you could be standing in the bottom of someone else's ocean. The word keeps these realms apart.
And then also...
I swear to God.
on page 168 and 170 is when she's in the library with Gwen, and they're lower down. Yeah. And literally,
I hate
Nesta
this.
goes, ahead of her, the darkness beckoned down the ramp like the entry into some dark pit of hell. And then on 170, Gwen goes, I can feel something like a cat, small and clever and curious. It's watching.
Yep.
And that's the same type of like feeling that they get at the tour, right? That's the same thing that Irene feels, right?
Yes.
All these libraries.
And there's actual cats there. There are cats
actual
there.
Very intelligent looking cats.
I swear to God, if we don't go to Terracin, I'm going to be so pissed.
There are 7 levels in the library.
I don't want to hear that.
In the middle bottom.
Listen, Kate, I'm ignoring all of what you just said. And
this is important, Sarah.
But I am choosing to selectively ignore it because that means we don't need to go to Terracin, and I am fully convinced we need to go.
Okay, but also in that same section, we find out that invoking stones for the priestesses are very similar to siphons. Yeah. Just a reminder.
Well, do you okay, all right, here's a hypothetical. Do you think Bryce is going to get an invoking stone or a siphon or either? Or none?
I don't know.
I feel like she needs something to like.
She needs something to help channel it
as like a charge, right? So I feel like she needs to like hold power.
Have we looked into the fact? What's the stone Lydia has? It's a crystal. Never mind.
It's a summoning stone.
But could it be? Could it be the same thing?
It's a white stone. It's a white summoning stone. Invoking stones are blue.
But it's like a dark blue, a light blue.
It's like a teal blue.
But could it be the same thing as like, Sarah J. Maas with her violet and blue? Could be like
it's like a teal blue.
I swear to God, if we get Flame and Shadow and it ends up being the same thing, I'm gonna die laughing because I think all of us were like, I'm sorry, did you just say Rune's eyes are blue and then all of a sudden violet? Because I like lost my mind. So it could be the same thing, Avery.
It's white and blue.
Well,
So
what if it's like an
it's
opal
different.
color where it's like iridescent and could be
Okay.
blue in certain lighting?
I'm just telling you, I don't think any of us saw Rune having violet eyes until Sky and Breath.
Correct.
You're right. I know you're right. I'm just like, Sarah's not great with colors sometimes. So
But also Reese's eyes weren't always described as violet.
come on,
And
Candy, don't bring that logic into this.
I think it's in A Court of Thorns and Roses. His eyes were described as blue, and then they were so blue they
were
almost looked violet.
All I
Correct.
know is they're always described with stars in his eyes.
That is because he
Starflex.
has constellations in his eyes.
Oh God. Tell me who's the favorite child without telling me who's the favorite child.
Oh man.
Poor
Anything else in this
Bless.
beginning part that we need to discuss? Gwen shows up.
When does it switch sections? I
At
was
what
trying to
point?
figure-
At what point did you fall in love with Gwen Avery?
Oh, that's complicated. I fell in love the first time with Gwyneth Verdara, when her name was on the training sheet.
Oh, okay. If I was gonna say,
'cause-
if you say the
because-
first time she met Nesta, I'll be like, bullshit. I don't believe
No.
you. Okay,
No,
that's
no.
fair. That's fair.
But I was intrigued by her from the second she walked on the page. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I like this person who won't take Nesta's shit. I hope she keeps showing up. And then she came back a second time and I was like, okay, yeah, that's a bestie right there. And I had already, one of my theories from ACOFAS before Silver Flames came out was that Emery would be Nesta's friend. I didn't know in what capacity, but it was that I figured Emery. There was only one real reason for an introduction for Emery for me, and it was to be Nesta's friend, because there were some crazy people out there saying that she was Cassian's love interest, and I was like, in what world?
So yeah, I mean, for anyone who did not, this is kind of was my introduction into. I say, let me quickly pause and say, I feel like your real introduction into the fandom is when you have a period of time that you are waiting for the next book, so you get to Theory Spiral. Because I feel like if you're just binging, you don't really get the same experience, you know?
Right.
So to Avery's point, when Emery was introduced in Flame and Shadow, or sorry, Frost and Starlight, it's the same fast. That's my problem.
Yep.
Frost and Starlight, when Emery was introduced, there was a lot of theory. First off, the biggest theory, the one that everyone spun with, was that Nesta was going to go to the Illyrian camps with Cassian, because that's how it ends in Frost and Starlight. And she was going to become friends with Emery. That was another one. And because Emery was obviously introduced. And then there was a war general's son in Frost and Starlight that was introduced. I forget his name. Everyone was convinced he was going to be the big bad. And that what the end result of this book was going to be was that Rhys was going to officially separate the Illyrians and the Night Court, and he was going to allow Nesta and Cassian to rule over Illyria, and then he would rule over the Night Court because he trusted them, and because of all the references of Queen and the wind and all this, which is very like Windhaven-y and whatever. Then we get Silver Flames, and first off, that war general's son is dead. He's not even alive when the book starts. They don't go to the Illyrian camp, like it said in the last sentence. But the one thing everyone was correct about was Emery.
Yeah.
So it's just funny to kind of hear what people assumed versus what actually happened, which is why I tend to be kind of the one that's like, Theory Spiral your heart's content until you experience your first Sarah J. Maas book post a Theory Spiral, and then you'll feel oh, okay, I'll just trust her.
Part
Process.
one also, before we go to part two, part one is the first introduction of the Dread Trove in chapter 20. Just
The Dread Trove.
the dread.
It's page,
The
225.
Dread
Yeah, with a R.
Trove. Dread.
With a R.
Right. Not Dead Trove.
Not Dead Trove.
Not Dead Trove. So many of us thought it was dead. I think I just was like, Dead troves. Like just in my head.
No, like when Sarah and I first started talking, she said dead trove about 10 times before I was
Easily.
like, Sarah.
Easily
it
10
is
times.
Red trove. And she was like, it is. And I was like, oh my God, there's an R there.
And then Avery realized I like read so fast I don't pay attention sometimes. So yeah. Yeah, and I will say this too about Nesta. I think this was in the first part when she tries to go down the stairs and she falls and hurts herself. I think that's
yes.
I think that's in
And
part
she
one.
leaves the like sparks and like the hand print.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the one thing I didn't love about the inner circle, and I think is really interesting to kind of like think about. I understand them wanting to put her in the House of Wind. It made total sense at the time because it's a safe place for her to be. It's not overly comfortable to the point that she feels familial bonds, whatever, like in the River House technically. But I did think it was a little over the top to put her in a location that she couldn't access the rest of the city. I understand why they did it because she obviously had an addiction issue, but having her struggle with the stairs was a bit hard for me. And I get why in the end, but I still, to this day, now that the house is owned by Nesta, we have to find an easy way for her to get in and out without Cass. Like, just going down 10,000 steps ain't gonna
Sarah.
work every time. What?
A Pegasus.
Oh yeah, Helion will probably give her one. Helion loves her.
That'd be a nice mating present, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Pegasus. You know who would love a Pegasus?
Gwen.
Bryce Quinlan.
Also Bryce Quinlan, but Gwen
would love a Pegasus. Yeah.
But anyway, so they talk Dread Trove just really quick. They talk about how there were 4 and that some legends said that the 4th had been unmade, but today's legends only tell of 3. And it was made. They talk about the mask, the harp, and the crown.
When does she find out it was made of bone? Or when does she start speculating? Lanthus. This is my one theory I'm very proud of myself for, which is that I believed that the Dread Trove, like the 4th item, was Bryce's tattoo, was the horn. And the reason they couldn't see is because it was in her back.
I believe that. I feel like that just has so much merit to it.
Right.
I'm interested to see, like, with her being in the Night Court, like how that is it going to react when it's in proximity to the heart?
Or is it going to react being around Nesta?
Oh, I'm sure it will. I wonder if Nesta will feel the call to like Bryce.
Out of context, I'm not going to say anything, I promise. Anyone here read the first 2 sentences of Flame and Shadow? What I assume were the first 2 sentences? Just me. Okay. You're fine. I'm not going to say anything. I promised Avery I wouldn't say anything. I'm not going to say anything.
I told her I'm not even going to look at the Instagram.
No, I didn't either. And like I like was scrolling.
Someone
and, like,
showed it to me.
I saw like Bryce Quinlan, and it was like about the book. I was like, no, we're gonna keep going.
Yeah. No, I mean the second Sarah J. Maas starts posting quotes for Flame and Shadow, I'm probably going to get off of Instagram. Like I'm just gonna be like, sorry guys. See you later.
I did read it. It wasn't that bad. I know Kate read it. It wasn't that bad.
I just don't want to have another Eris panic attack, so like I'm good.
Oh, it's not even close to that.
I know it's not that. I know that what you have read is not that, but like
all I'm going to say
that's why I'm not even going to read the Instagram.
All I'm going to say is because Avery can't vouch for herself, but I guarantee you, all of you in Discord who think it's one location is wrong because Avery would vouch for me and think it's the other location. Or
do I need to just read these sentences? So
I really need you to because I am like fighting for my life over here, and I need you to know that I do not think it is.
Okay, we're just gonna do it.
Like it is not that big of a deal, but I am fighting for my life over here.
Read these stupid sentences.
Do you want me to read them out loud?
I don't.
They're not.
No,
they're not.
Some people might know.
I promise you, as someone who wants no spoilers for this book, this is the one that I am okay with reading, and then I will be signing off after this point. Like, I don't want anything else. Here's the debate. Actually, we'll talk about it after, but I know for a fact.
Okay, I found this.
Read it and then tell me what you think, where you think they are.
That is a really small. Hold on.
Read it and tell me where you think you are, and I swear to God, if you say one thing, I'm going to literally leave the Zoom. I'm going to be so mad. Thank you. Amanda agrees with me. She thinks I'm right. Instinctually, you tell me where you think they are. If you say one thing, I'm going to be so pissed, Avery.
Okay, I think I
Where do you think they are? Thank you! Thank you! I've been saying this. I've been telling you guys, it is not the prison. It is not the prison.
Her entire mic just cut out.
Thank you. Thank you. I know my bestie so well that I knew she was not going to say the prison.
I'm so glad I could validate you for that. Now I want nothing else.
I do too. So you and I are on the same page.
Literally nothing
Because
else.
I think the next sentence says Gwyneth Berdara.
I would love nothing more.
That's what I think. Sorry.
I'm telling
quick
you,
side note.
I'm gonna burn that Gwyneth Berdara candle the second I open the book. I'm summoning her.
I'm so sorry. I went off the rails, but I really needed Avery to read that because I had been fighting.
She's been talking at me about it for 2 weeks now.
Fighting for my life in the Spoiler Leaks channel because I wrote a massive paragraph about how everyone was wrong. We can talk
Do
about
I need
this.
to go back and read that?
Yeah, you do. But
Okay,
not right
later.
now. Not right now.
Later.
Not right now. Not right now. Okay. Let's get back to Silver Flame. So part
Okay.
2, did they have any sexy time in part 1?
Yeah, that's the
hand job?
It's the hands to myself and the
Oh, when I ate the foot long
and the,
sandwich.
and the, no, and the
Quick
payback.
off the mark.
It's quick off the mark, and the
Here, let me-
Cassian evens the score.
Okay. Let me just ask this. In this group, if you're comfortable, favorite spicy scene? The desk. Easy. I'm convinced it was a Roalyn one that she rewrote.
Mine's the made up one, the threesome.
No, but actually,
What in your mind?
the desk. The desk will always, because there was biting in that, and there's only one couple that is biting. Roalyn.
The desk is good.
Mm-hmm.
Here, Sarah. It's Rolf's desk. You're welcome.
Oh my God! Yeah, it is.
I would have to say, like, I like the really sweet one where she finally like
This
accepts.
does not surprise me.
Why?
Well, she like accepts him and she's like, I'm yours. And the next day he's like, I'm your mate. And she's like, get out.
No, the best part is after they sleep together, they wake up and Cassian's like, I gotta go, I'm late. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, there's a snowball fight. And she's like, I'm sorry. What did you just say? And he's like, and I'm gonna be gone for a few days. So like, bye. And like, peace.
Sarah, you are embracing your inner Caven Cassian voice right now. There's a lot happening right now.
Oh my God.
I just love how like Cassian, who I love so dearly, is just like wakes up from this sleepy time with Nesta that he's been dreaming of, and he's like, I got a snowball fight, and I won't see you for a few days. Bye bye.
Yeah. No, okay, so I like the desk scene, but I'm a fan of the Moonstone Palace.
Of course you are. That does not surprise me.
Sorry.
Cammy, you got one?
There's nothing quick and dirty about that. Just dirty.
Just dirty.
Cammy, your turn.
Not a single one of us said the dining room. That tiny piece of beach just fell on the ground. I'm over it.
This is hard for me because I'm not a Cassian girl.
That's fine.
You're a Reese girl.
Yeah,
Okay, but like I'm a Reese girl, but like I can still appreciate Cassian.
that's true. That's
Like,
true.
I don't dislike Cassian. I just
I'm a Cassian girlie.
Yeah.
that you are.
I don't know if that's
Yeah.
gonna stick when the Gwynreal book comes out.
Oh, it will. It will.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I don't know about that.
I'm not an Azriel stan. I'm a Gwen stan and a Cassian stan. And my favorite ship is Gwenriel.
I know, but I don't know if that's gonna stick because someone is very kinky.
I know, but like that kink is not my kink. It's the other kink.
Fair.
We've discussed this.
Fair.
We are live. I have a job.
Are we having the pleasure discussion again?
We are on the internet right now.
It's fine. My job talks about these types of things. They posted a video where I literally said spit and swallow. So I don't think they really care.
Yeah, my job is not that cool about this.
Neither is mine. My job's not that cool either.
Okay, well, yeah. Death scene. It was a rewrite of Roalan. You can't tell me otherwise. I know there was more spice with Roalan, and she just took it out. It's traumatic.
Answer, but okay.
Yeah,
Avery,
because
I have matching cats right now. You got a cat in your lap. I have a cat in my lap. I don't know if we'll be able to see. but-
She's being very needy right now.
Yeah, so is mine.
okay, part 2. Part 2, part 3, we just combine them.
Part 2.
Part 2 or part 3?
Part 2 has the mountain in it.
Never mind, we gotta talk about that. I'm not ready to get emotional though, so let's not.
Harpin Under the Prison is 534. Looking at the stars.
And then we need to talk about the High King.
Yes.
Wait, really quickly, do you guys think there's gonna be a High King by the end of this series? Like a new one?
Yeah.
No. I don't think there actually is, but you know who my vote's for.
Avery wants it to be Lucian.
Avery. Yeah.
I want it
If
to
there
be
is one,
Lucian.
High King Lulu.
High King Lulu.
But I don't think there will be.
I
mean,
don't want High King Resand. Ew.
I don't either, but I think Sarah does. And I think all of us
Makes
are
me
just
feel
gonna be
icky.
like,
Favorite
Fine.
child.
I'm sorry, but that in Mocha speak is stupid and dumb.
I think the thing with the High King Reese is it's not even necessarily I think it's gonna be High King, High Queen, obviously. But I think the only reason I can see Reese doing it is if it would protect Perithian and protect Nyx.
Why
Like-
would the dumb dummies who made the death pact be High King and Queen? This is
Because Sarah has a soft spot for them.
Okay, if you have a soft spot, why did we only get a book and a half of their freaking romance? This is some BS.
A book and a half of you
Yes.
got 3 books of Face
No,
Sand.
I didn't. I got one. Avatar is a Tamlin book. Then you have the first freaking part of of Mist and Fury, where she's still in the freaking spring court.
It's 12 chapters.
Oh my
No,
God.
that's setting it up though. That's setting it up. Their
Look,
story starts.
Okay, but then she ends and we start Wings and Ruin back in the spring court, and then she has literally half the book where she's fighting to get back. No, this is some BS.
and then also don't forget all of the Nessian setup in Wings and Ruin.
I have first off, if they were to vote today, the High Lords would pick Reese.
Well, duh.
yeah.
I'm talking like post Lucian figuring out he's Helian's son, mated to Elaine, High King Lulu.
I mean,
Huzzah!
I love Lulu. First off, I feel like all of us here don't want a High King situation.
This
I'm
is
just
a
like,
lot.
please don't. Like, it's just, but
It's not necessary.
it's not necessary. It just really isn't. But she brought it up and she really, really nailed it in. And Amryn was all, come on, just do it. And I'm just like, is this what we're doing, Sarah? Are we doing High Kings? Please don't. But I'm okay with it. That's the direction we're leaning in. It's because she's got a soft spot for Resand. And that's all I know. It was intentional to get the Wi-Fi going again.
I mean, I can hear you fine. Do you want to try your video?
I'm reloading it.
Ma'am, I swear to God, if
It
you
says
lick me one
excellent
more time-
condition right now. There we
Okay.
go. Oh, but if I show my camera again?
I mean, the live's back up. Or
There we
it's
go.
looking like it's not buffering anymore.
Welcome to Texas, where the heat is so bad that they are currently in the process of rerouting our Wi-Fi. This is an actual thing. I was on the phone with them yesterday about this.
Oh, no.
Didn't work.
You
I hate
sounded like an actual robot.
Yeah.
Is this better?
It's buffering again on their end. Are you going to have to talk like that the whole time?
What am I talking like?
where we can hear you fine, but we can't see your
Yeah,
face.
with your video off,
This
you
is
sound fine.
awkward. This is horrible. Okay, can I explain really quick while the camera's off so I can explain this to people? Because it says it's in excellent condition, so let me explain. They are currently rerouting our Wi-Fi. Apparently, because I live between Austin and San Antonio, they are in the process, because there's only one Wi-Fi network out here, that they are rerouting. And because I'm in between the cities, our Wi-Fi keeps cutting out. But I was told yesterday when I called, it should be fine today.
They lied.
They lied.
They lied to you.
Can you? Oh no, your computer is it? Are it? Words. Is your computer like?
I'm
plugged
on.
in, or are you on Wi-Fi?
So because I'm upstairs, it's not plugged in. You can't plug it in up here. It's all
Okay.
because we are in a smart house. So you don't plug in to the bedrooms.
Okay. Can you run a hotspot?
Nope.
Okay. That was
Okay.
my.
I mean, your audio works like this.
Yeah,
Nothing
your
can-
audio works fine. Everybody's fine as long as they can hear you. So
No. It's this sucks.
Can you join like on a different device so that way?
I
join from your
can't.
phone,
I can't.
but
Oh,
mute
shoot.
yourself
Is
from your
that-
phone.
is
Yeah.
that gonna mess up the live and the sound or
No.
is it?
No.
Okay.
Like if you join with a different device and you mute that one.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
have your
that's what I'll
first
do.
one-
Hold on.
Okay.
It's literally because of this stupid Wi-Fi. It's not my fault.
No, we know.
Mother, stop sending me stuff on Instagram. She likes to send me dog videos.
Thank you
all
for
day.
your patience, friends.
Technical difficulties.
Open in browser. Join meeting. Join. Oh, that's a horrible angle. Please hold. That's awful. No audio. There you go. Now you can see my face.
Go sideways.
Oh, you want me to
Can
go
you go
sideways?
sideways? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Wait, is that
It
better?
didn't flip. You got to turn your
You gotta
phone
turn your
rotation
lock off.
God, I hate this. I hate this
There we
so
go.
much. Hold on. Oh God.
Oh, this is amazing.
Oh God. What is it doing? Why? No, I don't want to call anyone. Jesus. This whole thing is ridiculous.
Okay. And
Oh my
we're
God.
back.
Here, and
There you
then-
go.
We're
And then you
back.
can hide non-video participants, so it can hide your other
Oh,
thing.
Okay.
Okay,
You
how
click
do-
the three little buttons
Hide
in
view.
the top
There
right
you
of
go.
the-
There you go.
There you go. So no one will ever know. That didn't happen, guys.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Yeah. So, what were we talking about? Part 2. We were talking about.
I
Part
don't know.
two.
I've got a good thing for part 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were saying that we can't combine part 2 and 3 because part 2 has the mountain.
Ah.
Oh, when does
That's what
part
we
3
were saying.
start? I
Got
don't
it.
know if what I pulled is
Part-
part 3 or.
Part 3 is it starts with ribbons and Dusk Spice, and Gwen
Hell
invites
yeah.
Nessa to come to the evening service.
Hell yeah.
Is page 554 in part 3?
Part 3 starts with chapter 51.
Girl,
Hold on.
you're saying these numbers as if I know what chapter.
Hold
I
on.
don't-
I'm turning off my
Oh
camera
my
really
God.
quick.
Okay, so I'm in part 3. I'm in part 3, so
You-
I will shut up.
Okay.
You guys are fine. Just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna
Uh-huh.
I'll be right back really quick. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
You're fine. You could talk about this. You know this book like the back of your hand.
Okay. Wow, I hate everything about this right now. Okay, so part 2 has Emery showing up to training. That happens in part 2. We do the scrying.
Ooh, I got a
In
good
part
thing with the
2,
scrying.
We go to the Bog of Orid and we find out about all the monsters in part 2. We make new swords in part 2. And then we blow up at Feyre in part 2, and then we climb a mountain in part 2. Those are the main topics of part 2.
Not with a sword.
What?
We start with the swords that she makes.
I mean, sure.
Well, I don't know. It makes me question if Aelin has the same ability, because Aelin also has a sword, a magic sword, basically, that has flame. And her, like, because I believe there's a line where it says, like, she was able to, like, imbue her magic into the sword.
Well, Aelin was able to do that because when Aelin used her power to power the sword, but she had like little left at that point.
Yes, that.
So,
and that was like, I felt like that was very paralleled.
We are living our best lives here tonight.
We're just on the struggle bus at this point.
This is reminiscent of the actual Silver Flames life for you, isn't it?
Yeah. So we had a freeze. We were in a it was actually pure chaos. So Caven, this was the one time I can say this, so I'm gonna say it. Caven had less followers than me, so I can say this. This was the only time in existence it happened. And Caven and I became really good friends like during this, and I was like, hey, you want to do a live with me to talk Silver Flames? And she was like, yeah, sure. So we discussed Silver Flames, and then the Wi-Fi, we lost complete power, and then the Wi-Fi went out. And I had bought a bat onesie as a joke, and I wore it like during this live because I thought it was funny. And and then I ended up wearing it all weekend because it was so cold that it was the only thing I could like survive in was this like bat onesie. So I wore a bat onesie and read Silver Flames. Also, fun fact, because I can now say this, at the time I think I kind of indicated it, but I couldn't really explain it. I usually can find a copy of the book. It's just, I bought 6 versions. Bloomsbury had my money 6 times over. I was okay with this at this point. I was reading it, and my parents were about, 10 feet in front of me. I was in the kitchen, and they were in the living room, which is like 10 feet away. And I was shoving my face with a foot long from Subway, just about at the time when Nesta was shoving something in her mouth under the dining room table in the House of Wind. And I really quickly put that sandwich down because it was poor timing on my part. And I will never forget that. So every time I read it, I remember shoving my face with a $5 footlong from Subway. So, but yeah, it was funny. And I do remember what was kind of cool about Silver Flames when that book came out, because obviously it's different now, especially if you join the fandom post Sky and Breath, it was funny at the time how is there double audio? Hold on, let me mute myself here.
There's not double audio, but your lips aren't synced up to your sound.
So sorry everyone.
Okay.
When the worlds on top of each other thing that we just talked about with Meryl came up, that was a really kind of crazy thing, because I was like, wait, this is the same thing Baba Yellowlegs told Selena in Crown of Midnight, and pulled it up and showed it to people, and they were like, haha, you crazy theorist, you, like, she probably just went back and like wants continuity in all her series. And I was like, no, something's going on here. And then when Sky and Breath came out, and I think Avery and I felt so vindicated, and we got so many text messages from people telling us how right we were. It's frozen again. I can see it. Oh, everyone's frozen. Okay, we fixed it. God, I hate this Wi-Fi. It's times like these I miss living in the Silicon Valley. It says internet's unstable. Great timing. Yeah, it was crazy. That book was crazy. I will say that. So, and yeah. By the way, we didn't talk about this. Did anyone see Feyre being pregnant before she revealed she was pregnant? I did.
I read Kingdom of Ash before I read. That's I knew.
But I assumed, even with Kingdom of Ash, I assumed we weren't going to get that till like the end of ACOTAR.
So I wasn't sure until I read about the shield that Rhys was practicing around Feyre, and then I was like, she's pregnant.
That was confirmation that we were on that timeline.
Yeah.
It was confirmation when she appears next to Cassian. I love, by the way, this is something I do want to mention. The things I really love about Silver Flames, besides the Nesta stuff and the Gwen stuff, is anytime Feyre and Rhys appeared, because you did get to see it from this other point of view, and I remember vividly the conversation of like Feyre appearing, like sitting next to Cassian, and Cassian's like, I forgot you could winnow. Like Cassian forgot a lot when it came to Feyre. And it was very sweet to see this like sibling relationship through Cassian's eyes versus seeing it always through Feyre's point. I mean, I think from the beginning, if you look at Mist and Fury, Feyre always had a brotherly, like big brother feeling with Cassian. And I think seeing it now from his, Cassian's now looking at her as his little sister who he cares so dear. You could see that before he was ever mated to Nesta. And it was really sweet to see this. And the reason I brought it up is because I love when he goes to kiss her cheek and he can't, and he gets frustrated. And that was my indication. I was like, got it. She preggers. Okay, cool. Rhys, you bastard. You're being too damn stubborn. Not surprising. So that was fun. But yeah. Oh, someone said this. Moonfire, Silver Flames, the power Nesta stole from the Cauldron,
Yeah.
Deanna's gift. Do we ever talk about that?
I messaged in there and said that we would talk about it, but I don't know if we want to wait until the nightmare happens to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it with the nightmare. By the way, that will be Empire of Storm spoilers. So if anyone has not read Empire of Storms, that's just a heads up for you. Because we go on full in with that one.
Yeah. So basically the first part of part 2 is when Emery comes to training. I don't think there's a whole lot we need to say about that other than Emery is at training.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
And then Sweet Dreams is the next thing. So we can talk about
Something, I don't know if
Deanna and Silver Flames.
So, okay, I'll talk about the Deanna portion, and then I'll let you guys, before I get on my spiel about this chapter, because I have some thoughts, but I want someone else to take up the room before I clog up the air. So the one thing I do want to say about the Empire of Storms things is that was really interesting, because for anyone who doesn't remember, when Aelin is on the ship, this is right after Rowan and all the cadre have decided to all work together when they are in Skulls Bay. They're all on the ship. This is right before Lysandra turns into the massive, what is it? I forget what it was. She turns into like a big Nessie type monster.
The
basically.
sea dragon.
Yes, thank you. She turns into a sea dragon. And Rowan is on the ship with Aelin, and all of a sudden Aelin gets possessed by Deanna, and Deanna basically tells Rowan from Aelin's view that time's running out and she needs to forge the lock, is basically what she's telling her. But while this is happening, Aelin's fire shifts, and Rowan feels this because they're mates. It shifts into cold, and Rowan says this. It says also in that chapter that Aelin's eyes are like stars. They're silver and they look like stars. And her flames appear white. They do not appear like they typically do. And then this is when Rowan jumps in front of her and saves her from destroying an entire island, which is his indication that the mating bond is there, but he doesn't say anything. It's funny to think that Nesta and Aelin at one point shared powers together. Two characters that really should share. Probably not share powers together, but do share powers together. So it's a cool comparison. And it's interesting to see that both females felt like they couldn't control it in different ways. Aelin couldn't control it in that moment, and she was possessed, and then, always felt a burden with her fire. Nesta was having a nightmare and was in complete panic, and Rhys, even coming in, was terrified. So that was a very interesting. I loved the nightmare chapter. I don't know if anyone else did.
Yeah.
No, I
definitely.
really like that chapter, because I also feel like it for all the hate that Rhys gets in this book.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that was kind of like he was like genuinely caring about her and like worried about her and was wanting to help.
I would agree.
I don't know that he went into the moment that way though. Like
No.
he had to see her trauma very literally to have any sort of compassion for her, which I was kind of like, okay.
Well, I feel like initially, like when he was observing the room, like he still went in to help her.
I think he was worried about the safety of his people and his mate.
I think
don't
it was
he gave
a
shit about
mix.
Nesta.
I think it was a
Yeah.
mix.
I feel like that was, I mean, that's not incorrect, but I feel like he also like was worried about her.
Is this before or after Reese makes the comment about the priestesses and Cassian gets pissed at him?
After.
There probably was a sense of like caring about Nesta at that point because he was so. I think the priestess comment was probably the first indication to Reese that like, hey, he should probably be a little nicer to Nesta. The one thing, and I do want to say this, and we're going to talk about it more when we get to the mountain. The one thing I was so convinced of, and I still to this day kind of irritates me that Sarah didn't do this, is we never saw Reese and Nesta confront each other. And those two characters have so much similar trauma that it would have been such a fascinating conversation to have the two of them sit down and have a conversation about so many different things. I mean, Reese's trauma with Amarantha can easily tie into anything Nesta was dealing with the drinking. I mean, she was sleeping around because she just needed to feel something. So Reese can relate there. And they both have a sense of caring. You know, they both have a sense of they need, you know, they're the older siblings. Like, we've never really talked about the fact that, I mean, I know we have, but I'm saying in the book, like, Reese is an older brother. For years, he was an older brother to a younger sister. Like, there's some similarities there, and it's a missed opportunity, but it's fine. Sorry, I got on my high horse.
You're all right. Well, talking about how we got to that chapter is because Nesta scried.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But not with somebody. Like, she tried scrying and then she had the nightmare. And then the next thing she does is basically we find out that the baby has wings.
Mm-hmm.
And then she scries again. And this is one of mine. And probably, I think Sarah has also confirmed that it's one of hers.
The Hello Nest.
The Hello Nest chapter.
So before the second scrying, I just want to say that Nesta was worried about Elaine. Mm-hmm. And this is where I know I mentioned this in the last live, but literally Nesta said, like they said, oh, we have eyes on Elaine, like she's safe. And Nesta says, but eyes can be blinded, which obviously plays in very well when we go into Crescent City as the next book that was released. Yes. Which obviously, I don't think any of us saw that the first time around. It would have been like, okay, whatever. But I was like, eyes can be blinded. What?
I think it's also interesting going back to Elaine and bringing up Elaine for a second. So I can say this now because if you go back and I mean, I'm not telling you to, I'm just going to tell you. If you go back and you look at like my reactions the first time I ever read Frost and Starlight, and I posted these on TikTok, it's almost pretty close to the middle when we started them all getting together. I was like, oh, Elaine and Az are getting together. Because also at the time, Sarah was indicating in lives and stuff that like, well, the mating bond isn't always correct. And so a lot of us were thinking, oh, she's going to want to show a rejected pair and all this stuff. And so it made sense for it to be Elaine and Azriel because it was clearly indicated in Frost and Starlight that they had feelings for each other and they understood each other in a way that no one else in the room got each other. However, Elaine Archeron was barely in this book. And that was the biggest indication to me that she was not going to end up with Azriel because of how, I mean, Avery already said this earlier in the live, how much foreshadowing was in was in Akawar about Nessian is wild. And I was kind of expecting something in Silver Flames with Az and Elaine, and I got cold-shouldered the entire time. And that to me was a huge indication that maybe this isn't what we thought. So, you know, I mean, I know you brought up the fact that during the scrying, like, a big reason Nesta did it was because of Elaine. And it's like, yeah, Elaine who was barely there. I mean, besides Moore, who was literally in like 3 chapters, Elaine ain't there. She out there gardening without the gloves Lucian bought her. Like, homegirl ain't doing anything. Sorry, I got on my high horse again. I told you I wouldn't, but it's just an opinion.
So after the scrying,
yeah.
Sorry.
Then they found out they had to go to the middle, right?
Yeah.
So there's 2 things on 352. One was I wrote down Throne of Glass Witches because there was a comment about like magical power and all this stuff, and they were talking about witches that needed to drink blood to fill coldness the magic left in them, and I was like, that sounds a little bit like Throne of Glass Witches that choose to drink blood. And after that is the Light Singer description, which I don't know if you, Avery, want to go into.
Do you want to talk about the Light Singer thing? You probably should, because this is one of those theories. I just want to say the Light Singer thing is one that I was like, is this just a fan theory? But there is textual evidence in Silver Flames about this.
Oh God. Oh good, it's in front of me.
Yeah, page 352.
Oh no. The theory is in front of me. So the main thing to take away from light singers versus sirens and nymphs and different things is Sarah J. Maas does a lot in Greek mythology. I'm not going to go like crazy into this, but I have several videos about it on my TikTok. I've talked about it in several Theory Thursdays. Feel free to go watch it there. But the main thing to note is the description of light singers sounds very much like sirens. I think Gwen might have some light singer in her, but I don't think it's enough to make her like evil, like some people think. To me, Gwen is more like in Greek mythology, they're called naiads. They're river nymphs.
Yeah.
river nymphs. And they are essentially like patrons of the goddess Artemis, were nurses of the young, and were the protectors of girls overseeing safe passage from child to adult, which, as we find out later in this book, is like straight up what Gwen does in Sangrava. She literally saves the children.
Yeah.
Like, guys, it's very in-depth.
I think the biggest thing is, so there's two theories when it comes to the Light Singer thing, and Avery touched on it. One is that it's evil, and so a lot of people think it's that. The other
light singers themselves are
evil.
Yes.
The other side of the coin when it comes to all of this is a lot of us think very similar to Asriel, who deals with the Shadow Singer and his. I mean, I think we all have a suspicion that he may not necessarily love his job. He just does it because he's good at it. And it could be a very similar thing to Gwen, where just because she's a light singer doesn't mean she's a bad person.
Right.
But there might be a similar like calls to like situation there.
Yes. I think it's also important to note that we refer to Gwen as a priestess a lot. She's not.
She's an acolyte.
Priestess. She's an acolyte. And in Wings and Ruin, Rhys even says sometimes they live here as acolytes and then they choose to leave. Some choose to take the vows and stay as priestesses forever. So Gwen has not taken priestess vows.
No, she doesn't
For
think
the
she's
librarian.
worthy.
I know. I'm just she's not necessarily stuck there. Just putting that out in the universe.
Right.
Like she's stuck there of her own volition, not
She's choosing
actually
to be stuck there.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It's not even necessarily that she's stuck there. She's just recovering there, and it is her choice
Correct.
whether or not she wants to leave that recovery center or not. And at this
unfortunately, the one time she does leave, she gets abducted into an Illyrian blood
Right.
raid. But you know,
perfect timing for her, you know.
it's fine.
Yeah. It's I think there's a lot we don't know about Gwen, and I think the thing is, in regards to the Gwenriel versus Elriel, I don't think if you're a Gwenriel and you do not believe that at some point in the next book that Elriel is going to happen, I think you're somewhat delusional, because I do think we need a conclusion to that, but I don't necessarily think that's endgame.
I have lots of theories, so
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying about that. Okay, moving, and I do want to say, someone said something about, well, this is Nesta's book, that's why Elaine wasn't present. I get that, but you would think because it's Nesta's book, Elaine should be present.
yeah.
It's like Feyre was present. Feyre was more present than Elaine was.
Yeah.
So I don't really buy that, because what I buy is that there's more going on with Elaine than meets the eye, and more going on off page with her. Yeah. And I think at this point, it is not the focal point. It is not the goal of the story, but we have to allow for Elaine to tell her story. We don't need to distract it with Nesta, who was already dealing with enough. So, anyways, she makes let's talk about the swords. Let's talk about the High King really quick, and then we'll talk about the mountain. So, the one thing Avery and I love to discuss and love to say, and I'm sure a lot of us here feel the same way, is a lot of people will chalk up Silver Flames, especially before House of Sky and Breath came out, and say it is just a spicy book. It is just a book about spice. And it was, to be fair, it was advertised as that. So like
it's also very heavily spicy.
It's the most
Like,
it is the spiciest book Sarah J. Maas has come out with. So like we have to acknowledge that. However, if you take a step back, I'll be the first to admit this book was so spicy, and then when Sarah was like, "Well, Sky and Breath's really spicy," I was like, "Oh God, I hope not. I hope it's not on the same level," because I enjoy Crescent City for a different reason. But there are certain chapters, and Avery was one of the few people I had talked to before Sky and Breath came out that really, really indicate that there was more behind this than just it being a spice book. And one of those is the chapter about High King. And this was also one of the hardest things about finding out Bryce goes to Prithian and Sky and Breath. We knew readers should read Silver Flames before they read Sky and Breath, but we couldn't tell you guys directly to do that. So this was our sneaky way of doing it. And it was the High King chapter, because when they bring all of Nesta's swords in and present them, there is a conversation about the High King and the High Queen, High King and his queen and the general and Gwydion being lost and all of this fun stuff. And we all just were like, oh, cool, more backstory about Prithian. That's not what it was.
Mm-mm.
It brought up the Daglin and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, no, the whole High King thing, I'm never gonna let you live it down, so I'm just gonna say it again. Is when Sarah and I were pre Sky and Breath, we were doing a lot of crossover theories.
Yeah.
And we did one on YouTube. And it was the Friday before the leaks dropped on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
So like we got really lucky with our timing. And in that live, I talked about High King Finn and how I thought that Gwydion was the Star Sword because it was missing a knife with a black blade. There was too much coincidence between the story of Queen Thea and the story of High King Finn, who had his queen who betrayed him and like literally left. There was the conversation about the fourth Dread Trove item, which I also thought was the horn. And so like there were all of these things because Queen Thea took sacred objects with her and the general, Prince Peleus, that she ran off with. I just want more information on Queen Thea's daughters. That's what I want more information on.
Yeah. So
God, please.
So for context, I pulled it up just in case anyone's wondering. So this is chapter 42, I believe, and it says this. So it says, Cassian forced himself to sit perfectly still as Rhys dragged a hand through his black hair. Once the High Fae were more elemental, more given to reading the stars and crafting masterpieces of art, jewelry, and weaponry. Their gifts were raw, more connected to nature, and they can imbue objects with that power. And then it says, the last one made, the great blade Gwydion, vanished around the time the last of the trove went missing. And then Cassian says the sword isn't Gwydion, but he was well aware of the myths regarding the sword. It had belonged to the true Fae High King in Prithian, as there had been in Highburn. He had united the lands, its people, for a while. With that sword, peace had reigned until he had been betrayed by his own queen and his fiercest general, and lost the sword to them, and the lands fell into darkness once more, never again to see another High King, only High Lords who ruled the territories that had once answered the king. And Gwydion is gone, Amryn said sadly, or had been gladly missing for a millennia. She nodded toward the great sword. This is something new. And so then it says, only the great powers could do that. Gwydion was given its powers when the high priestess Olenna dipped it into the cauldron during its crafting. And Cassian's blood chilled. One touch from Nesta's magic while the blade is still hot. The blade is infused with it. So they've realized at this point that the sword is that the sword is thing. I will say for anyone who has a Kindle edition, it's really fascinating just to Google High King, like just to search High King, because there's only 11 things that pop up, and a lot of it is just conversation with Rhys. But it is interesting because, to Avery's point, you see all these little backstories, and you get all these little pieces.
We'll get into it more in part 3 too, because chapter 55 of the Court of Silver Flames is the whole post Lanthus, Finn and Gwydion overthrowing the Daglin.
Yeah.
Spish.
Okay, so then I'll talk about the mountain really quick and then we can move on. So the thing, Avery laughs at me. The thing, I don't know if anyone else feels similarly in this life, but the thing that probably means the most to me out of anything in this book is the mountain. And it's this mountain. It is Nesta climbing the mountain with Cassian. I understand the importance of the rite and her and the Valkyries going through it. I get it. I totally get it. However, that is nothing in comparison to Nesta going up this mountain with Cassian in my eyes. I'm not going to get too much into it. We'll wait for the podcast when we record it. But I mean, it's everyone at this point knows I don't cry. I'm not an emotional person. I mean, even today was like one of the hardest days at work and I like didn't even cry. I think I said to someone, I was like, just so you know, like my heart is breaking on the inside, but I can't cry. Like, it's not in me. And what I enjoy about Nesta's character is she's very similar because in a lot of books you read, the main character cries, especially if it's a female protagonist. They always cry. And so it is, and they should. There should be vulnerability, and I'm not denying that. But for people like myself who struggle with it, we just don't show our emotions that way. One of the lines I loved so much about going up this mountain with first off, before I get really too sappy about this, I want to say that Sarah J. Maas is a tease for showing me the line with Rhys about, take her out of the city before I effing kill her. I was like, yes, let's go. Like, we're getting our, like, big, and it didn't happen. But the part of that Cassian says, and there's a line he says where he says, I'm following Nesta and I'm waiting for her to break. I'm waiting for her to just start screaming. Like, he is waiting for this because everyone assumes Nesta's a hard character. She's a very difficult character to deal with. Her emotions are awful because she just rages all the time. And so, of course, he assumes that she's just going to lose her mind. Very similar to how she did later on in The Great Rite. But that's not what happened. She got to the top of the mountain and she broke down and she cried and he just held her. And those moments for people, I mean, I have done that. And those moments for people like myself where they don't happen very often, those are really important moments because it is really, really, it is a big thing. And I would be doing a disservice not to talk about this. So that's why I'm taking a minute to talk about it because this is why Silver Flames is hard for me to reread. This is why Silver Flames is not a book I reread because it is too close to the belt. It is too emotional for me, but it is also important for people like myself, and I know there's many out there who loved Nesta's journey and especially loved the way she dealt with the mountain. And so, I mean, I can't even read the like beginning of the book where it says, to every nest out there, climb the mountain. Like, that is too emotional for me. So
that's a hard one.
It's a hard one. The dedication is hard. And so, it's really hard to explain, but I just know there's people out there who get it. And I think that's something that, we talk about Sarah J. Maas a lot for many reasons because she's an incredible writer, but something I think she doesn't get enough credit for, something I think some people on Book Talk don't fully understand why we stick with her for so long. It's because of the mental health. Like, Bryce dealt with it. Bryce dealt with depression. Aelin dealt with PTSD. She dealt with anxiety. She dealt with all these Nesta deals with PTSD, she deals with depression, she deals with addiction, but she also deals with it in a very different way than all the other characters do. And I think that is what makes her so powerful. I will get off my soapbox now, but I just wanted to.
Wait, before we move on, I just like building off of what you said. I like how SJM can bring characters who are dealing with similar issues, whether it's anxiety, depression, whatever it might be, but showing how different ways to deal and manage with it. Like it shows like everyone can go through their journey a certain way and each pathway is okay.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes Nesta so special to me, because it was so different. Like, again, I mean, you see, we all joke that like Sarah's shtick is like watery bowels and puking and like all these different things, you know, and in the time it's fine, you know. Aelin cried a lot. Okay. Feyre cries a lot. Okay. You know, Bryce cries quite a bit. Okay. Nesta doesn't cry. She doesn't. She's hard. She's very cold-hearted. She's very difficult to get in. But once you find that loyalty, you're stuck with it. And like, Avery has seen it firsthand. There has been many instances where I will get on the phone and Avery has said, you need to be a little softer. And I'm like, well, this is what you're getting. Okay. Because I'm very passionate about this. I don't like the way, you know, it could be many things. It could be the way that she's being treated. It could be the way that we have gotten into these debates. And I think, to Caitlin's point, it's important to show that there's a different way to handle things. And also, I think it's important to show a protagonist like Nesta who's not loved. Nesta was not loved by the inner circle. Feyre was, and I know people hate it when I say this, but I'm going to say it. Feyre was the golden child. She was Rhys's mate. She walked into the situation. She went through a horrible experience. I'm not going to doubt that. But she walked into an experience where a bunch of people immediately accepted her and were going to do whatever the hell she wanted, and Feyre was willing to do it. Nesta was not willing to do it. She walked into the situation and she was like, F all of this. I'm going to do it I can't tell you how many times, and I'm sure I'm not the only person here, where like someone will tell me to do exactly this, and I will say, no, now I'm not going to do it at all. Because you told me to do it in this one way, I'm not going to do it. And that's the type of person Nesta is. So, you know, them telling her, well, you're going to go to the house when you're going to do this. She's like, F all of you. I'm going to do it my own way. And she did. She did the Valkyrie. She did all these amazing things. I mean, none of the inner circle would have told her to reach out to the priestesses. None of them would. That was Nesta. That was all Nesta's idea. Because she's a different character. And I think I've gotten on my soapbox for too long. But I'm just trying to say that, like, it's hard for, you know, I defend Nesta very hardly. So.
And I agree with everything you're saying. Like, I love Nesta so much. And I think there's maybe, like, I agree with you. Like, sometimes it's like hard reading her story, and like the mountain is definitely like the peak of her healing journey. And I know a lot of us probably, I mean, we didn't like Nesta in the beginning, but then when we saw her story, we're like, oh, I didn't like you because you are like me.
Yeah.
For sure. But something I also love about Nesta, you were listening at like all the stuff that she did, like the things where she saw other broken women and reached out to them without not wanting any clout, not wanting any attention, like giving the spices to Emery, like stuff like that is just like so beautiful. And I just love her so much.
Nesta wants no credit. She doesn't want, if the Valkyries, which I do think they might, if they were to ever like totally split off from the Illyrians and be their own unit and whatever, yes, Nesta would be the general, but because it would make the most, I mean, Cassian's the general of the Illyrians. Nesta should be the general of the Valkyrie. Also wouldn't surprise me if she doesn't want to do it because she doesn't want the credit. It just wouldn't. That's, and also, we saw it in The Great Right. Nesta is an extremely loyal character. She would have rather have died than let anyone else die. And that is what made her so incredible. And it's a different type of strength. It's a different type of strength from Feyre. Feyre has a very demure, sophisticated, I mean, listen, you're mates to Rhys. Rhys is a lot. Okay, like you have to have a certain balance. Cassian is an incredible balance for Nesta because he doesn't feel worthy like she does, but he's to his core. You know, there's so many times in the book where Reese is in Cass's mind and he's like, your heart's on your sleeve. Like, like cover it up somehow. Nesta covers it up too much. And I think that's what makes their relationship so beautiful. And there probably is a gorgeous balance between the two of them. So anyways, The Mountain is, I reread it for these when we did the playlist, and I like called Avery and I was like, I can't cry over Nesta right now, so like these are the songs and we're just gonna move on. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah. And I think you were thinking that is the most Nesta response. I was like, these are the songs, these are really important to me, these are what I need when I'm having a bad day, but I'm not gonna cry over this, so we're gonna move on. And yeah. So anyways, that was part 2. Sorry, I babbled, but
You're okay. What's your favorite part?
It is the part that means the most to me. So, part 3.
Part 3. Well, the first chapter is Gwen cuts the ribbon.
Which is very
Then
important.
Then there's desk spice.
Rowan. We just copy and paste Rowan and Aylin's names in there and call it a day. Okay.
And then after the desk spice is the
Prison?
no, Gwen and Nesta have the whole conversation about how Nesta's missing music. And so then the whole next chapter is the service and her accidental scrying to find and awaken the harp. And then we get to chapter 53, which we're going to sit and talk about for a minute.
The prison.
Because that's when we go to the prison.
Okay, this is my question for you, and this is a more general question about the people that Nesta sees go through. Do you think that is everyone from Dusk Court, or do you think that is only a portion from the Dusk Court?
It's complicated.
God, Avery.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear why.
Okay. Well, first we have to start with the discussion of the prison itself.
Okay, let's talk about the prison. By the way, you're sure 1000% Bryce is not in the prison when you read those 2 sentences, right?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Just making sure.
Stop it.
Fighting the good fight over here.
All right. So, Nessa's talking about the wards. She says they feel old, incredibly old. They probably predate this place being used as a prison. What was it before? No one knows. It's always been here. But this chamber, I didn't know places like this existed here. Maybe part of me wonders if the prison was either built or stocked with its inmates to hide the harp's presence. There are so many terrible powers here, and the wards on the mountain itself. I wonder if someone hid the harp knowing that it'd never be noticed with so much awful magic around it. But who put it here? Your guess is as good as mine. Someone who existed before the High Lords ruled. Reese told me once that this island might have been an 8th court. You don't recognize these markings on the ground?
No, because they're word marks, but keep going.
Not at all. I don't think any traps were triggered. Be quick. And then
so Reese already thinks this is another court.
Yes.
Yeah.
God. Okay. Got it.
We can also talk about the Pegasuses used to thrive there, but you know.
Right. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, listen.
I can get into it.
Avery knows that Avery knows that I am not the biggest. I don't really want to talk about Dusk Truth. That's going to have to be like an Avery live that Sarah's not involved in because I do not care. Like, it is one of the things that, like, I like to describe theories as like Christmas presents under a tree.
It'll be on my TikTok.
Yeah. I like to describe them as Christmas presents under a tree. Like, some presents I like to know and some I don't want to know. And for some reason, the Dusk Court is one that I Do not want to know. I just want Sarah to explain it to me, and I want to move on because there's so many different theories out there. But I will say this. I do believe Avery. I know someone's going to come in here and tell me, well, Reese brought it up in Mist and Fury. I know. He brought up that he thinks the prison's another court in Mist and Fury. I am aware. The reason, but what I think it was, that sentence in Mist and Fury felt like kind of like, well, it could have been. I don't know. So it's the reason I asked Avery is because I think it's interesting that he's pretty convinced, because that means when Bryce comes in, he'll be like, oh, I know where to take you. Like that type of a thing. I also have a hard time believing he just takes her right there. So theorizing, we don't know, but.
Okay. So now we're in the chamber of secrets. Anyways. It
Good
looks
job.
new. Thank you. It looks newly polished. How is that possible? It exists outside the bindings of time, just as the cauldron does. Nesta studied the carvings in the floor. They all seemed to spiral toward one point. I think these are stars, constellations, and like a golden sun, the harp lay at the center of the system. This is the night court, not Cassian said dryly, because of course he did. But it felt different from night court magic somehow. Nesta paused before the harp, the wards pressing into her skin as she surveyed its golden frame and silver strings. The harp sat atop a large rendering of an 8-pointed star. Its cardinal point stretched longer than the other 4, with the harp situated directly in the heart of the star. Then the hair on the back of her neck stood up. And yeah. Then she touches the harp and it's cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to read this whole chapter to you guys. Just go read 53.
I was gonna say, like, just go read. If like some people will be like, do I have to read all the, like, reread everything? No, I mean, you probably should, but like there are certain chapters that really pop and stand out. Like, for instance, in Queen of Shadows, the God of Truth stands out to Avery and I.
Just a little bit.
But the 8-point, well, someone said it confirmed the 8-pointed star in Hofas. She's confirmed that the 8-pointed star means something, but she's not confirmed
Correct.
it in Hofas. Okay. And it's probably going to come up. Don't get me wrong. It probably will. But I think Avery's right. I think the harp and the horn and all of that is tied, and
The dread trove is tied to the 8th court, which is the dusk court, which is the 8-pointed star, starborn situation.
potentially.
It literally says dusk's truth. Sarah!
My biggest issue with all of this is the fact that Day has some of these powers. The powers thing needs to be explained to me. That's why I want to wait. The powers thing needs to be explained.
Does Day have some of those powers? Or is that just what Feyre likened them to because they don't know? Because Reese said, I don't care. When she said Day,
I'm just saying. I get it. I'm just saying at this point, like, each court has clearly distinct powers, and it just needs to be explained to me by Sarah. That's what I'm waiting for.
I mean, we know that Feyre glows, but that's not confirmed Day. And we know she has the spell cleaving abilities.
Right.
Which is confirmed Day.
I'm just
saying.
Okay, well, you and I are not going to agree on this. So
No, we're not, because you don't want to know and I want to know everything.
I don't want to know right now. I will know in Flame and Shadow. That's what I know. But
anyways,
I think so she's and to kind of like move this along a little bit. So she's standing in the center, she grabs the harp, and we get to the part that she sees the people coming through. The Fae. I shouldn't say people. The Fae coming through the wall. And they're feeling suffocated, which is clearly the crossing. I think we thought
what we think is the crossing.
What we think is the crossing. I mean, I think we theorized that before, and we had, made this make sense. So I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. And then anything else before we talk about Lanthus? No? Okay. Everyone's shaking their head no. So Lanthus, my favorite part about this is that Aelin could probably take care of him like that, but it took Cassian a little longer, which is the only time that I'm like, do we all think he's Valg? Does anyone not think he's Valg?
He's Valg.
He's got to be Valg.
Well, he's easily Valg.
Maybe a Valg prince. Maybe not, Erewhon Valg, but maybe like a Valg prince with a collar type of situation. I'll take that.
I was feeling like not like maybe the same species as Erewhon, but just so like out of practice that
Right.
it just wasn't on that level.
Right. Totally.
Well, and it's his like dream form that reminds me the most of Erewhon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's not really a clear. This is the problem with Throne of Glass. There's not really a clear understanding of the Valg in terms of like, is there anything beyond the three kings that we saw, like the three Valg kings and Maeve? Sorry, spoilers, but like, is there anything? That's not clear. They indicate into Throne of Glass that like that's it, but like there could be. I mean, there's princesses and princes and like all that stuff, but like question mark.
Doesn't also Lanthus like come off first as like this beautiful man, and then
Yes.
he's like, okay, because Erewhon does that too. That's why.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
A naked, golden-haired male,
Yep.
golden
Mhm.
skin, sharp-boned face.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he has black blood, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
He
and-
do.
I mean, he's doing better than Duke Parrington, so like, I'll take this.
Yeah,
I'll take a
he's
hot
lit-
blonde over Duke Parrington,
right?
so that's fine. But yeah, he Valg. Someone should have asked that question in the Silver
No,
Flames Live.
it literally says strange black blood spurted from his form.
That was
Hell
like
yeah.
my confirmation. I was like, oh yeah, no, he's Valg.
Hell
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
Valg,
Yep.
baby. We just need a certain collar and some Irene towers, and we'll take care of it. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Then after all of this, they get back. Pegasi arrive. Pegasi. Ness and Cass sleep together for the first time officially.
Well, before that, when they first get back and they're talking to like the inner circle about everything, they tell them about the first masters of the world,
Correct, the Daglin.
which is on page 554. According to our oldest legends, most forgotten, we were created by beings who were near gods, the Daglin. They ruled for millennia, enslaved us and the humans, and they were petty, cruel, and drank the magic of the land like wine.
Yep.
Almost like a Siri taking first light.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds familiar.
Don't
Sound
forget,
familiar?
that's when this is when we get into the mythology behind Finn and Gwydion. So
Right.
it's some strains of mythology claim that one of the Fae heroes who rose up to overthrow them was Finn, who was given the great sword Gwydion by the
Mhm.
high priestess Olenna, who had dipped it into the cauldron itself. Finn and Gwydion overthrew the Daglin.
Mhm.
And then a millennium of peace followed. The lands were then divided into rough territories that were the precursors to the courts. But at the end of that 1,000 years, they were at each other's throats on the brink of war. Finn unified them, became High King, and is the only one that this land has ever had. And then the literal next page is when we get into what happened to the High King. He was betrayed by his queen, who had been a leader of her own territory,
Right.
and by his dearest friend, who was his general. And they killed him, taking some of his bloodline's most powerful and precious weapons. And then out of the chaos that followed, the 7 High Lords rose, and the courts have been in place ever since.
Wait, hold on. So I didn't realize she was from a different region. So
She ruled her own territory, yes.
so she could have been Autumn,
Potentially, yeah.
and then you got Night, quote unquote,
Dusk.
Dusk, right,
Night,
right,
yeah.
with Hiking Fen. The other, so if I remember correctly, so basic, just to catch everyone up to speed really quick. So you have High King Fen with the sword. The dagger is still question mark at this point because we don't know what happened. Like we know Azrael has Truth Teller, but we don't.
know that the dagger is in Azrael's possession currently, but we don't know how it got there.
Right. So we don't have any like past stories about the dagger. Okay. So we have,
Right.
but we know that the dagger and the sword because of Crescent City. Okay. So
They must be reunited.
yes. Okay. So you have the sword, which is Hiking Fens. You have the dagger, which is questionable right now in play. Then you also have the horn because the horn was the general. It was Peleus's.
Correct.
And then you have also the Star Eater, which also plays a huge role into all of this because I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but based off of what we know, the Asteri Sirius, who died was probably around all of this, because this is when Adis got involved because of Thea.
Correct.
So to catch everyone up to speed, you have long ago, you have a High King Finn who had a Queen Thea.
Over 10,000 years ago.
15,000 years, okay? You have High King Finn, Queen Thea, their 2 daughters, one of them named Helena, and you have General Peleus, Prince Peleus, okay? Prince Peleus and Queen Thea flee the land, most likely because she fell in love with Adis, the Prince of Hell. In the crossover. Yeah. Then they all went through the crossing. They realized what a horrible idea this was. Queen Thea freaks out, most likely contacts her lover boy, Prince Adis of the Chasm, who then contacts Prince Apollyon of the Pit, who then kills Sirius of the Asteri, and now we have the sword with Bryce Quinlan and Rune Dannon, Crown Prince of the Belvarin Fae, and you have Truth Teller over in the corner with Azriel. Did I miss anything? I don't think so. Oh, and the horn is on Bryce's back.
Correct.
And most likely the Illyrians are tied to all of this as soldiers of hell.
Well, yeah, that was my one question, since we are in the third part. Like, Emery goes into the whole spiel about what happened going up Ramiel.
Yes.
And I can't remember. I would love clarification, because they were saying a young Illyrian warrior named Analius held the line. And he's the one that they like do the right for, but he's important in this whole thing too. So that's why I'm like,
so
that's why I get confused.
What's also interesting, and I will let Avery explain this part. I'm just going to explain the Frost and Starlight. The Frost and Starlight part of this is that Cassian explains that the Illyrians know for a fact that they are not a part of Illyria. They are originally a part of, say it, Avery.
The Myrmidons.
Thank
the
you.
Myrmidons.
Thank you.
The Myrmidons.
Avery knows I can't say that. Okay, so they're from there, which is between day and night.
You say Mermaidians, which is hilarious to me. It's Myrmidons.
I say something different every time. So this is why I don't say it. I just go, this word. So they are a part of this area, which then leads into what Kate's saying about the Great Rite, because obviously this is taking place in the Illyrian Mountains. So we're missing
the Blood Rite left. The Great Rite is a very different thing.
Thank you. I kept saying Great Rite. The Blood
You
Rite.
did. I let it pass once. I was gonna correct you the second time.
Thank you. I was like, the fuck? What's the Great Rite?
The spicy calamine time.
Hell yeah. That's why. Okay, there we go. Not Tim Tam time. This is Blood Rite time. Got it. Okay, I'll remember it now.
Blood Rite.
Blood Rite. I'll remember that. Great Rite. Tim Tam time. Got it. Okay, so I knew it didn't sound right. Anyways, the piece of this that we're missing is that the Illyrians at one point were between day and night. Then they moved up above night to the Illyrian Mountains. And then all of this happens for the Blood Rite. But we don't know why. And then there's a whole thing about...
Other than the monolith at the top is important.
That's what I was going to say. This is something Avery pointed out to me. And I was like, the hell?
Mm-hmm. So it says a great war was fought between the Fae and the ancient beings who oppressed them. One of its key battles was here in the mountains. Our force was battered, outnumbered. For some reason, the enemy was desperate to reach the stone at the top of Ramiel. We never were taught the reason why.
I'm just saying, I think it's very interesting that Gwen and Emery were the last people to touch the monolith at the top of Ramiel, and then they landed in front of the river house, which is the last place that Nesta had to with the harp. And then there's a very strong theory that may or may not be where Bryce Quinlan landed. So
yes, I think I 1000% am with Avery on this. Which is also why I think technically, although I don't think this is what's going to happen, if Bryce lands in Terrasen, she should land in Endovir.
Which will be very upsetting for everyone.
I think it'll be great because it'll probably be very different at this point. It's been a year.
Yeah, or it'll be the exact same but just destroyed still.
I was gonna say, I was like, didn't it get destroyed?
It got destroyed. It did, yeah.
I don't think Aelin is gonna put it very high on her to-do list.
Rowan will.
The fixing.
Rowan will. Rowan will be like, I'll take care of it. Fenris might.
Too.
I'll take Fenris. If Fenris shows up, I'll take that. That's a Danica tie.
I said I wanted Fenris. That's my Throne of Glass person to show up.
I'll take that. I'll take Fenris. I just won't take Dorian, Kale, or Manon. Sorry. Not sorry.
Agreed.
I love them, but, you know, how are they going to talk to Bryce Quinlan? They can't. Anyways, sorry. That's my petty side of me coming out.
Is there anything else in 53 we want to talk about, Kate?
No, but when was the dance with Eris?
That's after.
It's coming up. It's coming up.
Okay, I was like, we gotta talk about that.
We're gonna talk about that. Don't worry.
Okay, hold on. Before we get into the dance with Eris, we gotta play the song that Avery picked for this. We're not gonna play because I will get a copyright strike. But you should go listen to the playlist that we put on Spotify. But y'all in here should go listen to the song she picked for the dance because it was that was it.
Play it. We'll play it for you guys once we're done with the
It's
live.
good. It's good. You can like hear Nesta dancing with
I'm
Eris
a dancer first.
All I'm gonna say is, I swear to God, Cassian, I love you so much.
You've already said it.
I'm gonna say it again. Why did he need to step in at that point? Give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes, Cassian. Go stand next to Moore for 5 minutes.
It was amazing.
He had been standing next to Moore. She didn't stop him. Get mad at her too.
5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. That's all I needed.
Bless.
I also do want to say, again, want to point this out just to be annoying. Elaine is described as not looking good in black and that, you know, maybe she would do better in the sunlight.
There's a lot of sunlight references to Elaine. I'm just gonna put that out there. It's even in the Azriel bonus chapter.
It is in the Azriel bonus chapter where he's like, I'm gonna get on my knees and listen, Azriel's a stupid male, okay? He just was like, I'll get on my knees for anyone. Okay? He just wanted something at the end of it because all of his other brothers were getting some action that night.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, well, all the other brothers were getting action that night, and Azriel's getting left out. So he was like, yeah, I'll take the sister.
Aggressive. Okay.
That's what he was doing. And then he went to Gwen, and he was like, and she's like, do you sing? And he's like, excuse me?
His shadows were definitely like, excuse me?
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. Like, Azriel's shadows are like his best friends, and anyone who thinks those shadows are going to leave him, I'm sorry, y'all are delusional. Like, those shadows are not leaving Azriel's side. Yes!
There's a lot of very interesting theories.
There is a major theory because the shadows disappear when they're around Moore and Elaine. Take a hint, people. Okay? Moore's not even interested in Az, even if she wanted to be, so it's fine. Okay? There's a very interesting theory that people think that he's just going to outgrow his shadows and they're just going to, you know, shed like Peter Pan's shadow off of his skin. And we're just going to be totally fine with that.
I'm so glad I'm so far removed from that side of the internet.
Be very glad. Be very glad.
I'm so sorry. Tumblr is the cesspool of the fandom, and this is where I find these things. And I just like,
don't go there anymore.
The hell, people?
Don't go there. So. Okay, moving on. So we talked about 53. The next chapter is when the house shows Nesta its heart, which is very cute.
Okay, that's fine.
The little twigs and stuff. Hey, I can talk nicely about it for a second. Do not dismiss me. Anyways, the next one is the Eris dance.
Oh, so good. The first major leak of Silver Flames, the Eris dance.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. It was the first, and everyone was like, "Oh, she's gonna end up with Eris," and I was like, "You see that foreshadowing with Cassian? Are you sure about that?"
Oh goodness.
I do think it would have been cool to see them in autumn, but I'm okay with them.
So before we get into the dance, because the dance is probably my favorite part, just because it is the most cinematic visual thing I have in my head. Probably in this entire book.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the sisters' entrance because that's like just the way it's described. So both sisters wore black. Mm-hmm. Both walked behind Rhys and Feyre, a silent indicator that they were a part of the royal family, had mighty powers of their own. They'd planned it that way, wanting Eris to see for himself just how valuable Nesta was. Cassian wondered if Elaine and Nesta had broken their silence while waiting for their entrance. They hadn't spoken to each other for months now. Elaine in black was ridiculous. She
No
was-
shit. Sorry.
Yes, she was beautiful, but the color of her long-sleeved, modest gown leached the brightness from her face. It wore her rather than the other way around. And he knew the cruelty of the hewn city troubled her, and she hadn't hesitated to come when Feyre.
I'm sorry. Can you reread that sentence about Hewn City?
Sure. It wore her rather than the other way around, and he knew the cruelty of the hewn city troubled her. But she
cruel
hadn't
city
hesitated.
of the cruel city of the hewn city. Yeah, and we're gonna put her with the torture guy. Got it. Okay, keep going.
When Feyre had offered to let her remain home, Elaine had squared her shoulders and declared that she was a part of this court and would do whatever she needed.
Whatever.
So Elaine had let her golden brown hair down tonight and pinned it back with twin combs of pearl. He'd never once in the 2 years he'd known her found Elaine to be plain but wearing black. No matter how much she claimed to be a part of this court, it sucked the life from her.
I'm sorry. She put pearl in her hair, which would have been, what was the thing Lucian gave her as a gift?
Pearl earrings.
Just want to say that. Okay.
Nesta in night court black threatened to bring him to his knees.
There we go.
She'd braided her hair over her head in her usual style, but atop it a delicate tiara of glinting black stone rested slender spikes jutting upward in a dark corona. Each spike was topped with a tiny sapphire, as if the spikes were so sharp they'd pierced the sky and drawn cobalt blood. And the dress. Silver thread embroidered the skin-tight velvet bodice. The straps so narrow they might as well have been nothing against her moon-white skin. The neckline plunged nearly to her navel, where the silver thread gathered to hold a small sapphire that matched the ones on her crown. The full skirts brushed the dark floor, rustling in the rippling silence.
Oh. Yes.
I think, yeah. I mean, yeah.
She's got red lipstick on. She's got coal-lined eyes. She has a feline smirk on her face. We are loving Nesta in this.
Nesta's in her element, even though she doesn't like she would not. I mean, she would actually do well in the Court of Nightmares, but she. Oh, gonna really quickly say this, Avery, just to confirm. So the Court of Nightmares is Hewn City, right? It's the same thing.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Wait,
So
hold on. Why is that a question?
because some people think they're two separate things.
Are we reading the same book?
No, we're not anymore. We're not. I'm gonna be
No,
honest.
we're
We're not. No.
Okay, sorry.
No. We're not. I just like to clarify that they're the same thing.
Okay. I was okay.
It's
No.
like the
Okay. Kate, you wanted to talk about the Eris and Nesta dance, so I'm gonna let you take over. Go, girl.
Oh, I didn't really have anything to say about it other than like I love the scene and I love that Cassian like took lessons and he just like when he shows up after the dance, he just like stands there and she's like, "Are you gonna ask me to dance?" I just love the whole scene. But
I-
also they give him the blade, which
They
is like
do.
important.
The dagger, yeah.
I will say I was this got Eris points, even though like I obviously at this point I didn't want him with Nesta, but just like his determined to like have her, I was like, oh, okay, like
I am here for an Eris redemption arc.
yes, I would like that. I'd like that.
They allude to it. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think so too. I can't wait to like see the Autumn King dead. Like I just wanted them to
Yes,
rip.
please.
That's gonna be so good.
Do you think he's gonna get a redemption arc, or do you think when we see his story, we'll already see like he's already taken actions that will redeem him?
I don't know, because there's a lot of loose ends with ACOTAR in regards to Autumn. Like, you have the Lady of Autumn, you have Helion, you have Lucian, you have Eris, you have Baron. You have so many pieces that I don't know if we're gonna get everything solved, but I think this is again where and this was happening, I saw when it came to the Hofast League. As a fandom, as a community, there's certain things that we have like, just because we keep talking about it, we think are canon, but we're missing that like this is not something that is necessarily a priority because we are so close to it.
Yeah, we're like hyperfixating.
Yeah, perfect example. Everyone fixates on the Lady of Autumn. Totally get it. We all want her to get the hell out of there and end up in Helion's arms. Totally get it. However, I don't think that's a priority. And even though in our heads it's a priority, I don't know if for Sarah it is. So But I do think the Eris thing is a priority. I don't know if it's more of a priority or less of a priority from a Tamlin redemption arc, and I don't see us getting both.
See, I think it's more of a priority than a Tamlin redemption arc.
It's-
I think we have had enough of a tease about Moore's story and what actually went down on the border of the Autumn Court. Like, we also know that Eris did not attend Jesmunda's execution. He denied his father that.
Yes.
We also know that he is the one who got Tamlin to the border of the Spring Court so that Tamlin could then slaughter some of Lucian's brothers so that then Lucian could be safe inside the Spring Court. We know those two things happened.
Yeah.
Those are canon events. They have happened in the books. There is text evidence of it. Who is to say that based on that knowledge, Eris did not somehow get word to Asriel or the Court of Dreams in some way to come and get more? Asriel's the one who found her. Asriel's the spy master. He's got spies everywhere. I'm certain Eris did something.
I don't even know. But Eris keeps indicating, though, that it's Moore who knows.
I think Moore does know. I don't think Asriel knows how the information was given to him, or even if Eris was like being braggadocious next to like somebody who he might know is Asriel's spy, but he has kept that information to himself. Like, I'm being very theoretical here. None of this is canon, but like, let's just say for fun, Eris brags to his brothers in front of somebody who he knows secretly reports to Asriel to get word to Asriel about where Moore is. Yes, that's why it might have taken longer, but we don't know.
There's definitely more that happened because of the way that he says, why don't you ask Moore what happened? Like, there is more to that story.
I think Moore, like Moore herself, is hiding something. And even he says in this thing, you know, she's hiding it from all of you because she doesn't want you guys to change how you view her. And I don't know what that is. This is kind of one of those things that at this point, I would like Sarah just to explain it to me, but it wouldn't surprise me if something comes up and then all of us are like, well, hold on. There's something here coming on, you know, with the two of them. I also think Moore is a character that will need to be explained in an Asriel book.
Yes.
So,
Cammy, how do you feel about Eris?
I can't wait for an Eris redemption arc. I don't know. I'm ready. I have good feelings about Eris now. Obviously, we all didn't at the beginning, but like.
Right.
So, Sarah, we all need your shirt. Thank you.
Yeah.
The Eris redemption arc shirt. Yeah, for sure. The only other thing I want to just repeat, I love seeing Feyre and Rhys in this chapter in another perspective because I really love them going in their brains and Feyre being like, you can take back every Solstice gift if you let me rip him apart. And he's like, careful. Like, it's really funny to see the two of them in another point of view. It's like the fan fiction side of me. Like, I love to see that. So, I just wanted to call that out. But moving on to Winter Solstice, this is the first time, one of the best parts, I think, is Nesta saying to Elaine, oh, F off. And then Elaine starts laughing. It's incredible. Yeah. Just wanted to say that.
One of my favorite sparks of Elaine personality.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And then we see them all open their presents. Asriel gives Nesta a very, very thoughtful gift.
That's probably one of my favorite parts of this book is her throwing her arms around Asriel.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
I love them so much.
They also had, Az and Nesta had their moment where like she noticed he stayed away from the fire too.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, my shadows don't like flame. And I think
she's like,
he's like the only person I think who recognized that she had the issue with the flame to begin with.
Yeah. Probably. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, because they have that relation. Like, they both get it.
Yeah. The gift that someone asked what was the gift. The gift that Asriel gave Nesta.
Book light.
It's a book light. And she could like tap it and it said like her face had lit up, and Cassian said like he would always, be grateful for Az for putting that, light in her eye. And it was a really, really sweet moment. And I also love that, Sarah could have picked so many different characters for that chapter's point of view. And I love that it was in Cassian's, because it was cool to see Cassian kind of like mother hen a little bit, like worry about
Yeah.
Nesta, but also like enjoy the festivities around. One thing I do want to say, and I didn't know this because I'm not Jewish and I wasn't, my family is Christian. The comment about no gifts for the baby because it's bad luck is actually like a Jewish tradition, and that was something
that's
Sarah
cool.
put in. Yeah, and I think that's really cool. So just wanted to make a note of that because I think that's a cool little fact.
Somebody mentioned, I'm just gonna backtrack to Eris for like a half a second.
Yeah,
Somebody mentioned in the comments the broken mates theory, and we all know that Sarah J. Maas has put out into the universe that a mating bond can be rejected.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a theory that is circulating that the thing that Moore knows and Eris knows is that Moore rejected a mating bond with Eris.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Or
I like
or that they both sense a mating bond and it hasn't been rejected. Like it
Both
hasn't
are out
snapped.
there.
Yeah.
But like, I would love nothing more than for that to be the example of a rejected mating bond. That makes total sense to me.
Yeah. For multiple reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll let that Van Sarah have a broken mating bond.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. That was my
No. That's a good
side
thing.
note.
Okay, going to Cass and Nesta's spicy time. This is like when the mating bond officially snaps. We talked about the snowball fights. We don't need to talk about that again. And then we talk. Yeah, that was my cave-in impression. We talked a little bit. We didn't talk about the Valkyrie sleepover, but I just want to bring it up. This is when the friendship bracelets were made too, right?
They sit in bathtubs. They make friendship bracelets, and the miniature Pegasus loves Gwen the most.
Yeah.
I'm obnoxious. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Some people said a few cultures thinks it's bad luck. Yeah. It's just I love when Sarah does that. She inserts certain things, like the pebble in Queen of Shadows is another one. So like there's all these little things that she puts in, and people are like, "Oh," but then when you do research you discover it, and it's a really cool little fact. That's the only reason I brought it up. Okay, I'm trying to move us a little bit along. So
I'm sorry, we're gonna have to talk about chapter 60.
Let's talk about chapter 60.
Chapter 60 is my Gwen and Asriel chapter.
Okay, talk about it quick.
Okay, as quick as I can. Cassian's been gone. There's been a shift, blah, blah, blah. Emery says do it for the miniature Pegasus.
Yeah.
Gwen cuts the ribbon. It's a whole thing. Everybody then eventually cuts the ribbon, and then the guys decide that they're going to do these obstacle courses. These obstacle courses take place over the course of 2 months. It's a long passage of time for one chapter. I'm just saying. This is the chapter where we get "You're the New Ribbon" as.
Yeah.
This is also the chapter where we get Gwen and Emery and Nesta finally completing the course, and Gwen striding up to Asriel and being like, "Where's my prize?" Like, sassy Gwen has arrived, and I need more of her. I need more of that interaction. I need more of that banter. This is my favorite chapter.
Yeah.
I won't stop reading this. This is probably the one I've read the most. I think I've reread this chapter specifically in the upwards of like 40 or 50 times.
Well, I was going to say, this is a good example of Sarah's, people forget Silver Flames takes place over a very long time.
It does.
One chapter with 2 months is important to note.
Mm-hmm.
So just throw that out there. Okay. I'm going to go all the way to right before we get to part 4, which is the Red Star, obviously. I'm just going to bring it up. Just that
Starfall happens before that, just for continuity.
So yeah.
Starfall.
And then the Red Star, where it's spring in Valeris, but it's winter in Terrasen. It's fine.
Helen May has also happened.
Yes. And I'm moving along a little bit just to say, I just wanted to say, so the Red Star happens. It says that Reese is frazzled. And then Cassian doesn't ask a lot of questions. Again, Cassian, pay attention. And then we get my favorite moment, which is the fact that Cass and Ness, the thing we didn't really talk about it in the Winter Solstice chapters, but the two of them, what I love is like they both don't feel like that they are worthy of each other. Like Cassian constantly says, well, I'm just a bastard. You don't want to be with me. And she's like, I've never said that to you. And then he always compares her to a queen because it's what, Nesta's mother did and all these different things. And then, we get to this chapter where, they're holding hands and she's like, stop it. And he's like, why? And she's like, you're my mate. Like, you're my mate, damn it. Someone said they're in different hemispheres. I just want to quickly comment on that. The hemispheres thing is something I've heard before. The problem though is it's not hemispheres, it's holidays. So just want to throw that out there. It's not hemispheres, it's holidays. But anyways, going back to the Cassian and Nesta thing. This was one of the few times that Cass was like super, super aggressive with Nesta, but not in a bad way. He just was like wanting her to confront this part that she was hiding. And it's very, very clear that it is something that she's still battling with, like every Archeron sister is. And then she calls in the bargain. And Cass has to leave. And then she is more sweet Moore takes her to Emery, and then Gwen shows up, and then they get kidnapped. And then we get to hear how stupid Rhys and Feyre are for their stupid bargain that is just such a bad thing. And before someone puts it in the comments, I want to say, because I've seen the theory that their bargain breaks if they go to, if they leave this world together. That is not the phrasing that is used. So that theory is, in my opinion, obsolete. So just want to throw that out there. And then we get to the blood right.
Yes. Let's be honest. How many of us want to talk about the Cassian and Azriel side quest?
We don't
that happens
care.
in this? No one cares. Literally no one
The
cares.
only thing interesting about it, and the only thing worth noting, is Eris loses the dagger, and so it is back with the Night Court by the end of this book. That's the only important thing to know, in my opinion.
Yep.
Okay, great.
We get, in this part, we get friendship bracelets helping find one another. We get Gwen being a badass with a weird creature from God knows where. We get fights that Cammie is going to post later this week. I'm pretty sure. Just
Friday. Next Friday.
Yeah. Very
Heck
excited.
yeah. Heck yeah. Shoot. Damn it. I'm like trying to get this thing to stay. It was dying. My phone's dying.
We get Gwen's story. We get Emery's story.
Oh my God, I'm over it.
Okay. It's all very heartfelt. Anyways, and then we get a major Annalius story from Emery in this, where it's like, seriously, just go read it. Kate, do you have that tabbed? I don't have that in front of me. I have it highlighted.
Hell
Okay.
yeah.
I knew she
That's
would.
the one I was referencing before when I mentioned that. But
Yeah,
684.
I have that highlighted in my book. But yeah, it's on 684. Read it, memorize it, know it, love it. Yeah, and then Feyre almost dies.
Breaking
Nesta
Dawn.
saves
Breaking
her.
Dawn Part 2. Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Yeah. Nesta saves her with the Dread Trove and gives her power that she stole to the Cauldron, but the mother leaves her with some power. And then Cassian confronts Eris, and then we get the mating. They're going to have a mating ceremony, and Rhys is being ostentatious about it, and blah blah blah.
I have to say, I was very proud of myself that I had guessed exactly what Nesta would do for the mating. I was like, she's either going to give him an old piece of food or she's going to be extremely extravagant. It's going to be one or the other. And that is the option she gave Cassian. So I was like, hell yeah. Doesn't happen very often.
That was my 30-second recap, but anything we want to touch on specifically?
And then I will open Slido. We don't have very many questions, so.
Well, and then we have the little thing at the end with more, right?
What thing? What thing with more?
Isn't the last chapter more like on a horse?
Oh,
She,
that's in Frost and Starlight.
That's in Frost and Starlight.
Yeah. But that's
I was like,
fair.
wait.
That's fair. That should be in this book, so I understand.
Good. But
Yeah.
no, that's Frost and Starlight. That's
So
her,
nothing
like,
happened with that.
No,
Yeah.
it's her like one POV.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, yeah.
You're right.
So all right, we don't have very many questions, so I'm just gonna bust through this and then we can end. So someone said, oh, this is a fun one. If you were the house, what book rec would you give Nesta? I know what I would give her.
I would give her Done and Dusted because that's what I literally read last night and today. And the Dirty Talk is so good.
Good one.
Everyone should read it. It's very good.
I think I'd give her Radiant Sin by Kate Robert.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I feel like, because it's not my favorite out of the series, but I feel like it'd be Nesta's favorite.
Yes, 100%. You still haven't read Radiant Sin, Sarah.
No, I haven't.
You'd
Cammy?
like it.
No, I have to think about it.
That's fine. That's fine. Avery, you got something you give Nesta?
Yeah.
What would you give Nesta?
I would give her anything from the Salacious Players Club series.
Hell yeah. Good choice.
Let her educate herself on some of the more kinky aspects of what she could be doing with Cassian.
Because I'm selfish, there's two things I would give Nesta. One, I'd give her Throne of Glass, just because why not figure it out, baby? And then the second thing I would give her, because I actually think she would enjoy it, because it also has a cast, is I'd give her From Blood and Ash.
Oh, I feel like she'd like From Blood and Ash.
She would like From Blood and Ash. She would be like, honeydew. She'd be like, Cassian. So yeah. Okay, well, Kaylee, if you think of something.
Oh, do we think that Nesta would like fantasy romance?
Yes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
She was reading war books at one point to because Cassian
Right.
had given her. So yeah, she would.
I guess I would have to say I think I would give her Bridge Kingdom.
Ooh,
That's a good one.
that's a good one.
That's a good one.
She would also like Fourth Wing.
Yeah,
would
I think
like
Bridge
Bridge Wing.
Kingdom would also be a great rec that she would have given Gwen because it was like a little bit lower spice.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like Gwen would really like Bridge Kingdom.
That's a good answer.
Gwen would
That's a
like
really-
Neon Gods.
Yeah.
I
me-
would
that's a
give-
good one.
I would give Emery Queen Takes Rose.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would.
Oh, if you're
Yeah.
looking for some sapphic
Oh, listen, Sarah won't read it because it's Disney.
I will not. Yeah, I don't.
it's
Yeah.
not close enough
Oh,
to Disney.
I know it's not.
Wait, is this the Disney Villains one?
Oh,
Yes.
Brown Sisters trilogy is
The-
really cute.
So the first one is very close, and then like as you continue to read them, they get further and further from.
Disney.
I'm with Sarah on this one.
It's too close to home. It's the same reason I won't read fine print.
No, that's a completely different situation, but okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Does anyone know what what do you think is this mysterious item that Draken knew of? That's on the island. Does anyone know? I don't remember.
Oh, from like Wings and Ruin. Sorry, my brain is not there.
Yeah, I was like, I think this is a Wings and Ruin question. I don't know. I don't know if that's even necessarily. I mean, it might be relevant with Bryce.
I
but
had to
don't know.
remember who Draken was because I was like, the Draken? No,
Right,
wrong
right.
book.
Draken,
My brain had to like rewire there for a second.
Draken, wolves, and cave cats. Oh my.
Sarah.
Okay. So it says so this one's interesting. This is just more of like this is more of a statement than anything. It says, when Lucian calms down Cassian by saying easy, is he using his day court powers? I don't think so.
No.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just
I think so, but isn't there a moment where like Cassian was like shocked that there was more dominance than like there normally was? Isn't that a thing? Or am I just making that up?
No.
I mean,
think-
maybe.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think there
Because
was
he was
something.
like, not that he like it was impacted by it, but just that he noticed it, and he was kind of like, huh, okay.
Yeah. And then the last question is obviously a ho-fast one, which is, who do you think's gonna get what? Do you think Bryce is gonna get the dagger or the sword? Do you think Rune's gonna get the dagger or the sword? Do you think they're not gonna go together?
Rune gets the sword.
I think Rune's gonna keep the sword, and I think Bryce is getting the dagger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care what Bryce ends up with. I don't care if she leaves the dagger behind and ends up with Danica's sword. I don't care. Rune has to have the star sword back.
Rune's gonna. It's Rune's sword. Bryce has said that multiple times. Rune lets
know.
Bryce
I'm
use the
just-
sword.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I agree. Anyone think she'll end up with the sword and he'll get the dagger? I don't think so.
I don't think it matters as long as it goes back to Crescent City.
'Cause they have to be reunited.
together.
Yeah.
They have to be together, so it cannot stay.
And for anyone who's like, well, this is a Crescent City book, not an ACOTAR book. I get it, but let's be real. Again, we as a fandom hyperfixate on Asriel's dagger. In general, if that dagger goes disappearing, she'll just say, Asriel gave the dagger away. He's got a new dagger. It's not gonna be a big deal.
He literally can just have Nesta can like gift him one of her magical daggers.
It'll be fine.
Like it could be a cute moment.
it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Here, go torture people.
It'll be fine. Okay. Any last thoughts about Silver Flames?
I'm already ready to reread it again.
Are you serious? That doesn't surprise me. I am like,
I want them to redo the audiobook. That's my only thing.
I agree with that.
I'm actually excited about the graphic audio for this one.
Yes, I think they pushed it back a little bit because I thought it was supposed to be out this month, isn't it? Or the first half?
Yeah, I think they pushed it back. I think this is the only one I'm gonna be willing to actually listen to.
Can I make a comment? So when my mom and I went to Europe, I was asking you guys help for getting her the graphic audio, right? So we finally got it. She's been listening to it, and she cannot get over the fact that Feyre sounds like a Disney princess. Oh my goodness, they're doing. Blah,
Oh,
blah,
I
blah.
like her voice.
Oh my god,
I
I
didn't think
can't
it was
stand
that.
it. My mom can't stand it.
I
can't
really
do
like
the,
it.
I can't do the resend Aladdin voice. That's what bugs me.
It gets better. I think the problem
It's
is
not.
no. Well, yes. Let me tell. Listen, you want to talk about it's not British? How do you think I'm going to be with Rowan in the graphic audio that they said? Because if that man's not Irish, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to be like, this is BS. Because how many times in that freaking book? I get it. Okay, I get it. I'm with you. I want Reese to have an accent. I totally get it. But it literally canonically says that Adian cannot understand Rowan. So that better be a thick accent. That's what I'm saying. I expect something out of that man's mouth. Gold nightgown and all.
Oh my god.
That's that. I don't know. I don't know. I've never been an audiobook person, but I'm all.
The winnowing sound, Kate.
Oh, no. The rustling of the
Well,
sheets.
someone said they couldn't do the audio, the sound effects, and I'm fine with all of them except for the winnowing. It's like
The rustling of
Like,
the sheets.
why can't we have something very similar to apparating? Like, why
It
can't
should
that be a thing?
or why can't it just be like a
like a snap.
yeah, it should just be
Yeah.
a snap. But the I will say this to Kate's point. So Stina Nilsson does the audiobook for Silver Flames, and I love Stina Nilsson for From Blood and Ash. Like
Yeah,
her for
100%.
From Blood and Ash, like she's incredible. She's Poppy. Okay? She is Poppy. Poppy is like Gwen. I don't even want to compare her to Gwen. I guess that's the closest
No.
comparison. But she's not Nesta is my point. So like hearing a very
Then
like
just don't compare her to anybody else. Just say she's not Nesta.
she's just like Poppy, for anyone who's never read From Blood and Ash, is a very like sassy, naive character. Okay? And so Stina Nielsen does a great job with that. Then you hear Nesta, or who is not that character, and I'm like, no. What were we thinking?
Yeah, no.
And
I'm
Stina
just
Nielsen's
not a fan of Stina Nilsson anymore.
she's a great
She just-
narrator.
She just like the way she
It's-
overemphasizes some things,
Right.
like
It's
in
her
like
Cassian
groans
voice.
and like the one that comes to the top of mind is from Blood and Ash. It's like Maya Lisa, and I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, please.
No.
She
Well,
It's literally It's for me, it's not even when she does Nesta's voice. I can kind of get over that. When she switches into her Cassian voice, I'm like, absolutely not. No. No. I love you. No.
She is,
It's Ether.
Ether. Yeah, that's one.
Ether.
The Ether. It's just, but she does a great job with From Blood and Ash to the point that like I will fall asleep to her doing From Blood and Ash. So like I really, really like, but God, hearing her do Nesta, I was like, it was the same thing. Actually, this kind of does work because Bryce and Aelin are somewhat somewhat similar. I mean, let's be honest. Bryce is Aelin with the who can cuss. Okay, so like them having the same narrator is fine. And I think if we had just maybe let Elizabeth Evans do all of Sarah J. Maas, we wouldn't be having this issue. It would be fine. I mean, I remember I was like, okay, let's hear her do Reese because she hasn't had a chance to do Reese. She's been doing every other character, but she's a Touchstar character. Her little one line as Reese, I was like, okay, I'm ready for this. This is fine. This is fine.
As long as she does how fast, I'll be fine.
No, she'll do Ho fast. She will 1000%. You think they didn't lock her in that contract? They learned. She'll do Ho fast.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Okay, all right. Well, the last thing I'll say before we totally end this live, we're doing Hosap next.
That has been going on for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours, which is fine. We will be doing we're doing a Frost and Starlight, like a very, very quick live with Frost and Starlight. It will be very quick, okay? Then
it's Christmas in July.
It's Christmas in July. That's why we waited, okay? And then we are doing Hosab. Hosab's live will be full. I am just not even going to try. Full balls to the wall, Sarah J. Maas spoilers. Throne of Glass, Akatar, Crescent City, everything, okay? I am not. And then at that point on, you have literally been warned, and we will discuss next steps. But you have a whole month to read Hosab, and we will discuss all of it. Avery, as you can see, has a microphone again, so we can record the podcast now.
They can't see it, but it's here.
Avery has a microphone again, so we can record the podcast now, which is really exciting.
Sorry about that,
Friday,
guys.
the 28th of July, right?
21st or 28th?
28th.
I have the 28th.
Okay.
Because we talked about it and they moved my work trip, so I am free the 28th now.
Okay,
Because I was the one that had the issue.
Okay.
And you were like, oh, we can move it. And Caitlin was like, we can't move it, but I can do the 28th because they moved my work trip.
Okay.
So now I
It is
can't
the
do the
28th.
21st.
Okay,
So it's
cool.
the 28th.
Great. I literally
Sounds
put it on
great.
both calendars because I had both dates because I was like, I don't know, but we can't do anything those Fridays. Great. Okay, so then we are locked in. Everything looks good. We will be talking Crescent City, and then we can move on.
Yay!
I'm so excited.
So
I'm
that's where it
ready to
gets
move
exhausting,
on.
'cause then we're going to From Blood and Ash, right?
Yeah, no,
From
it's
Buttermilk.
Kate's turn. It's Kate's turn.
Well, no.
I'm gonna take a nap.
So
I didn't even finish my Throne of Glass reread, so I'm still technically behind.
Oh, Kate. We will talk after this. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. Lucy, if you're still in here, you better be finishing A Soul of Ash and Blood because please finish. Okay. And let me get my music up.
Release.
It releases 18th.
8th?
18th of this month.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye all.